Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
It's got Star Trek. Episode 13. Stardust City Rag, or Picard's 11.
After they brought you back from your time in the collective, do you honestly feel that you regained your humanity?
Yes.
All of it?
No. But we're both working on it. Aren't we?
Every damn day of my life.
Hi.
So I think we can get started.
We can get started.
And we got to move along here because we have a lot to cover because this was a crazy episode of Star Trek.
It really was.
All right, so initial housekeeping. First of all, we'll get to it at the end of the show, but we did thank you very much to our kind listeners. We did get some reviews and some comments and some emails after a mere few weeks of begging.
One review.
Well, we'll get to it. We got one review and got some emails, comment. We'll get to it at the end, so we're going to read those out. Dan's beholden for at least one joke, so stay tuned at the end of the episode to hear the reviews and the jokes and solicitations for more. In the event that you are interested in leaving a review, go ahead and do that, or you can email us at feedback@itsgotstartrek.com. That's another option. Or you can leave a comment on the website or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. You'll figure it out. So anyway,
we're going to discuss the reviews as well as hear the joke.
Yes,
Oh,
but
that's
at
cool.
the end of the episode.
That's cool.
So we got to get started so we can leave room for that. Because,
I'm excited now.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's going to be the debut of a Dan joke. So we're all excited about that. So let's get into the episode.
Without further.
This episode was also directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe the way it generally has been working with these new series, and I think it's not just Star Trek. I think it's a fairly common thing. They did this on Game of Thrones. I think they do this on Better Call Saul. Probably a lot of shows where they get a director in to direct what they call a block of episodes, which in an hour-long and 45-minute drama is 2 episodes. So I think that's how it worked. However, I also think that there was, there could be some screwiness related to that because as we discussed before, the first 3 episodes of Picard were initially supposed to be 2 episodes, and they expanded it into 3. So I don't know exactly how that started overlapping and stuff, but we know for sure Jonathan Frakes directed the bulk of last week's and this week's. And I think you can tell he's a great director. I always get excited when he's directing something, especially, his episodes on Discovery were great. I think both these episodes were great. And he has a sense of fun to him that I think really worked well in this episode.
This episode didn't have any of the sneaky Romulans.
Yeah, there were no sexy incest Romulans.
It just had the unsneaky Romulan.
It had that one Romulan.
Yeah, the unsneaky Romulan.
The one with the super Romulan haircut.
Right.
The
Elnor.
Okay,
no, not
Oh, it
Elnor.
had that
Her
other,
name was
had
Pell.
That, had that other,
Pell. Yeah, Pell. Where else?
You're right. It did have Elnor. I don't think of him as sexy Romulan, even though he is demonstrably sexy. But I don't know. He seems very kid-like.
He seems
He's
so.
goofy Romulan.
He seemed so. I mean, I guess it goes with his character, but he seems so just completely baffled by people not telling the truth or pretending to be something else.
It's the way of absolute candor.
Yes,
a
but
Kawabala.
he shared a planet with non-Kandor Romulans.
Non-candor. True, but although
I bet you he didn't go out too much.
the implications seem to be that I'm sure he went out, but it's probably like a nun or a priory or a nun place where they come out from time to time, but
I mean, his social skills do seem a little bit lacking. So
he was
guess
quite literally cloistered.
Yes,
Totally.
well, he totally
Yeah,
was.
that's
But the question is,
Well, do you think-
let's wait until we get to the Pell part because we don't need to jump ahead because I think the Pell.
that's way
Have I
ahead.
heard
Yeah.
Pell anywhere else? I don't know.
Okay, first this opening scene
Took place in Planet Vergessen.
There's the creepy sort of jazz piano-y music.
In the Hypatia system. This is in 2386, which is 13 years ago, right? Because we're doing
Right.
2399. The Hypatia system is now home to Stardust City, And somehow Freecloud, I guess, is just a county in Stardust City. I don't know, or if it's just
I think
the name of.
I think it's reversed. Maybe
Okay.
Freecloud is the planet now, or something in Stardust
well,
City.
the planet is Vergessen.
I don't think this is the same place.
that was a different
place.
No, I thought it was the same place.
I don't think it's the same place.
That was in the Hypatia system.
What I do know is
Yeah.
for
Oh, you're right because how did I get that fucked up? You're right because Stardust City Freecloud is in the Alpha Doradus system.
they're near. I think they're nearby.
I don't know why I thought that.
How did you mix up the Alpha Dorada system with the Hypatia system?
I don't know, man. I'm fucking not on top of my game this week.
The-
I'm having a stressful week.
It's because he's worried about that joke that's coming up at the end of the episode. So Vergessen in German means forgotten. And Hypatia.
It's some kind of skin disease, isn't it?
No, she was a Hellenistic Neoplatonist philosopher, astronomer, and mathematician. She lived in Alexandria, Egypt. I think like 350 AD or something she was born. She was murdered by a gang of Christians who thought that Hypatia was colluding against the local bishop.
I thought it was a skin-like disease.
That's alopecia.
Oh.
Yeah, that's alopecia or hydrodysplasia. No, I think that's when your head splits open or something.
So it opens up with surgery. Gross ass fucking eyeball surgery.
I guess it counts as surgery, but I was kind of thinking, like, is it surgery if there's no anesthesia and the guy's all like, "Ah!"
Yeah, like, okay. I don't know if we should talk about that now or later, but it's so weird that there was no anesthesia. Did they just not have any handy? I guess they were just so busy chopping up bodies of ex-Borg that they ran out of anesthesia. I think they liked it. I think they liked it.
Well,
honestly.
I mean, think about what the Borg have done to, a lot of people are not keen on the Borg.
Because
Where's your cortical node, buddy?
Okay.
I thought go ahead.
So
Sorry.
do you know who this person is?
It sounds like Girardi to me.
Who, what, the nurse?
The buddy. It sounded like Girardi, right? Is it supposed to be someone else?
I don't think it's Girardi because this person gets killed, I believe.
Yeah.
No, because it's not
This
Bejazel.
person's taller than Gerard.
It's not Bejazel. No, everyone got killed. 7 of 9 came in there and killed everybody when she went to rescue Icheb, the guy who was getting his pieces torn off of him.
Yeah.
How do you? But that's implied. We don't know that she.
Well, we know
everyone.
the people right around him that were. She was about to rip his eyeball, like stick something into his eyeball hole, and she got hit by something, and then was no longer there. So the implication is pretty clear that 7. Maybe she didn't kill them, maybe she stunned them, but she
got blasted.
She got blasted.
Well, I mean, if she was gonna do something, she'd kill him. She's like fucking like Sarah Connor mixed with a Terminator or something. But
what I was getting at is the person on the table. Do you know who that was?
Oh well, I still think that the person doing surgery could have been Girardi. There's no evidence that they're dead, but okay, we can move on to that part. Because who else says buddy? That's Girardi says that. Aggie.
Lots of people say buddy.
Nobody in Star Trek.
Dude.
And she's all into like surgery on synths and like making synth stuff. And she's obsessed with learning about robots, and maybe
she was tall.
They brought her in.
That person was taller than
they brought her in because they promised her knowledge of
This is
synths.
upsetting me because I think this is colossal error.
No, I'm onto it, man. I'm right.
So who's
Remember when I said that Freecloud was a gambling place?
Okay, email into feedback@itsgotstartrek.com with your opinions
Not feedback.
on whether Dan, not feedback if Dan is correct or not.
Okay, so let's get back at the ranch with dude they were doing surgery.
Person is the person on the table.
Icheb
is Icheb.
That sounded like a familiar name.
It's not obscure, semi-obscure because it's late stage Voyager. He was a character that was on Voyager for basically the last couple of years of Voyager. And it's a very interesting backstory in that he was discovered in a Borg cube, and I think he was having some problems, as I recall. It's been a while since I've seen it. But he was a child, and there were a number of children from his race that were assimilated, and they were on this Borg cube, and I think the Borg adults were having problems. So long story short, the Voyager rescues these kids, is able to recover them to some extent, and he essentially becomes 7 of 9's ward in a sense on the show because she identifies with him, obviously, and he's even younger. I mean, she was very young when she was assimilated, but she was de-assimilated when she was much older. He's younger, and I think has more chance at a life is kind of her perspective because he's been caught younger. The kind of cool thing about his backstory is that his parents were from a race of people who were getting fucked around with by the Borg, and they were really good at genetic engineering. So they actually genetically engineered their children to sabotage the Borg, and they voluntarily sent their kids to be assimilated with the purpose of fucking up the Borg, which I think there was some measure of success.
Well, so wait, did he come from this? So he was on the Borg cube with 7 of 9, but he didn't come from the same place.
No,
as
he wasn't on the
7
Borg cube with 7 of 9. It was just
She
another.
came from like the Tandoori, or no,
Yeah,
what was it?
so-
Some system.
She's a human, and her parents went out to the Delta Quadrant and got assimilated. She was with her parents who were on some long-term scouting mission. Completely separately to that,
Right.
they encounter a Borg cube that's all fucked up and feeble and everything's going weird on it. They find these kids, they rescue them. Eventually, throughout the course of time, you figure out that his parents genetically engineered the kids to sabotage the Borg and voluntarily sacrifice their children to it, which is kind of fucked up. But all of this is the long way of saying
Wait.
that the reason why Seven was there was because he was helping her with the Fenris Rangers stuff. It was an ambush. He got captured. It's her fault that he was there.
Yeah, that's right.
And the reason she's so upset about this particular guy is because of that backstory, which they can only hint at in this episode, but I do think it adds a lot of flavor to the motivation for why 7 of 9 is so fucking butthurt about this situation, because this is somebody who really was essentially like a child to her, and he was brutally literally torn to pieces, and she had to kill him to put him out of his misery. Hence why she's so bitter.
Now-
You need some explanation for why she's so bitter.
Why did she shoot him in the stomach? I mean, it seems like if you want to kill someone, that would not be a great place to shoot him. But I mean,
I think
it's
with
a-
those phasers,
yeah.
you can just kind of
shoot
melt their
various
organs from the
places.
inside.
Yeah.
You just shoot them. So yeah, they were saying his Icheb was on leave from the USS Coleman, is what they were saying.
Right.
And they were doing recon, and then it's same old story, right? You answer a distress call, and it's really someone trying to fuck your shit
That
up.
keeps happening.
That
Well, and
always
then we
happens.
later
It's pretty good. It's pretty
They
good
need to put
tactic.
something in the field manual.
I don't understand why he was doing recon while he was on leave, but maybe he was just being a nice guy. I guess.
I think the econ it's subtle, but I think the implication is that he was doing a favor for Seven. He associates with her. He wants to help her. Another really cool Easter egg that is really I didn't catch this at first. When they're digging around in his eyeball, they keep saying, "Where's your what was it? Your cortical
node?"
Yeah, your cortical node. There's like, "Where's your cortical node?" It's got to be in there somewhere. There's a whole episode of Voyager where 7 of 9 starts to have health problems because her cortical node starts to break down, and it's basically killing her. And she needs a new one, but they don't have a way to get a new one. And Icheb, because he has the same talent in genetic engineering, that his parents have, and because he's younger and hasn't been assimilated as long, he thinks that he can give her his cortical node to save her life, and he can survive without it if the doctor helps him with some like genetic resequencing or something.
Find it.
So that cortical node is in 7 of 9's head right now. It's what's kept her alive. So that's an added reason why she feels really upset that she had anything to do with him getting caught. And further, I think the implication is that the reason he's taken a leave from Starfleet just for fun and is doing this as a favor for her because he wants to be in a position to help her out.
It's a Tendara colony is where 7 of 9 is from. She's from the Tendara colony, and like her parents had the USS Raven or something. Stardate 25479, whatever that means. Parents Magnus and Aaron Hansen.
Annika Hansen. that's her
Annika
name.
Hansen. Yeah, and they were like going to find an unknown species, and they got warped over to the Delta Quadrant. And then this skip. See, when you said Icheb, I did that thing where it's like sounds familiar. Like when someone mentions a band that you never heard. Well, that's never happened to Jesse because I think you've ever heard of every band.
Jesse knows every band.
Yeah, but when you do that thing, you're like, yeah, this
That's
sounds like familiar. It's like they've never heard of it. I heard of Icheb. I did hear of Icheb.
Yeah.
Because you could have very well said that's actually a reference to a totally different movie that has nothing to do with Star Trek. And then
I'd be
that
like,
would
fuck
sound-
you,
that would
Dan.
sound like
I
a-
tricked you.
Yeah,
You
that would-
piece of shit.
I didn't watch much Voyager, so I don't know about each of them.
Well, you don't.
I'm in the dark.
Well, no, you have enough confidence not to pull that move to say like you know about something when you don't.
That's,
you know?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, you want to have some juicy backstory about Icheb, separate, like behind the scenes stuff? So there's been a bit of an uproar on the internet as to why they recast Icheb and, frankly, why they killed him. Because Icheb was, among a certain segment of the Voyager population, a very popular character. This young character had joined the crew, and he propelled a number of the stories towards the end of the series. But the actor who plays him is, by all accounts, kind of an asshole. He's on Twitter a lot. And you remember when Anthony Rapp, the guy who plays Stamets on Discovery, came out and said that Kevin Spacey molested him when he was 14? Or certainly made moves on him when he was 14.
I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, that's Anthony Rapp. So he's the one who started the whole Kevin Spacey thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in a sense,
I'm
because
such an asshole.
yeah, I mean, he's not. There were rumors about Kevin Spacey for a long time.
Well, I mean, I knew
he was the one who came out like on Twitter and with like a big long. I think he had an article where he talked about it. But anyway,
I knew about the Kevin Spacey shit. Obviously, I just didn't put it together.
He came out. He was 14, and I think it was in Manhattan. He had just done his first Broadway show or something where he had a small part, and then Kevin Spacey basically locked him in his room. It was a party at Kevin Spacey's house, and Kevin Spacey was trying to do this. According to Anthony Rapp, right? So Anthony Rapp puts this story out, and then this guy who played the original Icheb goes on and basically says, I believe Kevin Spacey, and you're a whiner, and just get over it and stuff. And then he tried to backpedal when like the whole internet was like, what the fuck is your problem? So I don't know the full details. All I know is that when you look at those tweets and some other stuff the guy said, you can tell why basically there was no chance that he was going to be hired as the actor. And what's even kind of...
You think those tweets like did him in?
Oh, yeah. Well, partly because we're in a time period where if you don't have to hire... First of all, it's not like this guy's like some genius actor or something, right? No offense to the guy. It's just, he's not Robert Redford or something, right? So it's not like you have to hire him for a minor character that most people won't even remember, who is also, by the way, was a different age than you are currently in the flashback. So there's a lot of reasons to not hire him. But I think you could almost argue the producers were kind of sticking the knife in the belly in the sense that they're like, yo, we're with our boy Anthony Rapp. You all can fuck yourself. Yeah, I mean, you can fuck yourself because you're a piece of shit. But what kind of plays into that a little bit is that ever since they announced the Picard series, the actor on Twitter has been trying to drum up the idea that they should have Icheb on the show, and that it would be great to have Icheb be part of Picard's crew. And then when 7 of 9 was announced to be on the show, he really got it. He was like, oh, Icheb's got to be involved.
So he got his monkey's paw wish, except.
Pretty much. And so while on the one hand, the torture and death of Icheb is a perfect way to help in a very brief sense explain 7 of 9's motivation in this episode, it also has the effect of cutting off any chance of Icheb being cast, so that actor can just stop asking about being recast because that character's dead and he didn't get to play him. So I don't know, but it could be some funny, sort of behind the scenes tomfoolery to be like, fuck you, man, you're a piece of shit.
It sounds very likely. I don't know. I mean, they recast a bunch of people, though. But, I mean, there's a lot. Twitter has also been getting people in various forms of trouble. It's kind of interesting that the whole Twitter thing sort of started, and then, like, it's like, it's going to get you in trouble, and then it wasn't until, several years later.
Honestly, it's like actors, they're people, they're permitted their opinions and stuff, and I definitely think people can go a little overboard. I think it's sort of common sense that maybe if a guy says that he was like nearly raped by a famous actor when he was 14, maybe you shouldn't tell him to get over it. That maybe is not the best way to go about it. Maybe there are other ways you could convey support for Kevin Spacey or whatever, but you know what I'm saying?
Whenever I think of people going on Twitter rants, my first thing that comes to my head is like, they must have been fucking drunk. Like, I don't know how else somebody is going to be that sort of
well, and then some people double down, and when you look at his tweets, he kind of doubled down a little bit, so maybe he was drunk for a few days.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm perfectly willing to believe that he was stone sober. It's just that's always seems to be, whenever I hear about it, I'm thinking that's the kind of sort of grandiose, talk that's a drunk person gives.
Well, and the fact is some people, I mean, like again, more power to people. Everyone should have, their own thinking and opinions, but you do get disappointed sometimes when somebody that you kind of really like and respect as an actor turns out to have some bizarre opinions, especially if they seem sort of out of character, which is unfair because they're playing characters. Dwight Schultz is a perfect example. He played Barkley. And Barkley's a great character. He's this bumbling guy, and he was on the A-Team. He's a great actor, really
Dwight
fun
Schultz
guy.
is a crazy right winger.
Yeah, and he's like kind of almost maybe you should call a doctor. Like some of the things he says, not just that he's a virulent asshole or anything. It's sort of like there's a stress in his voice when he talks about some of that stuff. And it's just sort of like, I can still enjoy the character. I just have to try to not think about some of the kind of mean things that he said about immigrants, for example.
Now, Randy Quaid wasn't specifically an asshole, was he? Or is he just kind of a total nutball?
I think both, but I think asshole in a different way, because it's one thing to be an asshole to be like, I hate minorities or I hate homosexuals. It's another thing to be an asshole where he was the type of asshole where he just stopped paying people bills and he would he would show up at somebody's house and not leave.
Just kind of a bum.
Which I think counts as being an asshole, but it's like
a bum. You're a fucking bum.
Or he would go to people's like vacation houses that he knew and like squat there or something. Like,
oh man,
like where they weren't living. Like, that was him, right?
Yeah, I feel like I heard something about that where someone was going. I think that was him. I think that was him. Just like hanging out.
Like he and his wife.
He ran off to Canada or something. Or maybe they kicked him out of Canada. I don't know.
We don't want you here.
Canada will kick you out.
Yeah.
They don't play around.
So what was I feel like I've seen this before and this should be very obvious. The sort of VR looking glove finger nodes that Seven was wearing. I feel like that's from something very specific because it was like right in your face.
She's always had that.
Yeah, she's always had that.
Ever since she was deborgified, she always had that, the eye thing. And a couple other things.
So that's part of the Borg fingers. I mean, because
it's what they couldn't remove.
It's what they couldn't remove. It looks like some awesome motion sensing VR, AR kind of like control the world through magic, through Wi-Fi kind of deal or something.
Well, they mentioned it and they make it pretty clear in this episode, but they mentioned it many times previously that if you're assimilated as an adult and then they get to you quick enough, like in the case of Picard, they can take most of the stuff back out and you'll be fine. Relatively, but the younger you are when they assimilate you, the harder it is to remove stuff. So both 7 of 9 and Icheb, as it happens, were assimilated at a very young age. So as a result, there was a lot of stuff that simply could not be removed, even with advanced Federation technology. So they've just got to live with it. Otherwise, they would die.
What was it that when Picard was in his role, he called her he said the Borg when the Borg entered. She was a jeune fille or jeune fille. I'm not butchering that. Jeune fille.
Like a young.
It's like a young woman. Yeah. You say specifically a young unmarried woman, and so it's kind of gross because I get what they're saying, right? Because she hadn't,
a young miss.
She hadn't really been of age yet, but it's like kind of like they forced her into age by sort of penetrating her. And it's really awful. It's like when you think about it, it's gross.
I mean, the Borg are fucked up. That's why people maybe aren't so nice to them.
He was using a really terrible voice, too. That was really...
Well, we'll get to that, too. Yeah. So, all right. So that's the opening scene, and then we go into the awesome opening, which I've now decided is super awesome, and I totally dig it.
So you hear the creepy piano in the beginning when they zoom in on that planet where they're taking that Borg apart.
Yeah, the music in this episode is wicked.
Yeah, and then you see like that midget piano player on
little
person,
small
midgets.
Person,
Midget's a bad word.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's an uncensored podcast. I'll be a little bit more. I'll be a little bit more politically correct, or a lot more politically correct.
You're good, man.
You see, and the music in that bar was all crazy.
Yeah,
especially later on, where it's like some sort of, it was Star Trek-y music, but with some techno.
It was there was super techno. Yeah, when Rios goes in there with his hat, like
you're gonna need a feather.
Okay, I don't know if this can make it in, but really, is Little Person even like? I'm sort of going off track. We don't have to whatever, but is Little Person?
I think Little Person is cool.
Wouldn't it be somebody who has the condition of dwarfism? Because isn't that what it's called? But is that like
some of them say that it's cool to say dwarf, but I think it depends on who you ask.
And also there's
dwarves, and then there's
because I've heard of things saying if you call someone this,
sometimes you're just under 4 feet tall.
It's dehumanizing them and making them seem something else.
Right.
And so you say it's somebody with this condition or something like that. And the problem is, the problem is if somebody has like some crazy stomach problems, you don't refer to them by that. But it's just not very obvious that they do that unless they're really gassy or something, right? And then maybe they'll be like, "Oh, he's gassy." But What?
It's Colitis Dan, everybody. Nobody says
Hey,
that.
Colitis Dan.
Nobody ever says that.
Nobody ever says Colitis Dan except when
That would be shitty.
The
Except when
issue is that you are seeking, understandably, you are seeking a universal rubric, and it does not exist.
Yeah.
Because there are different groups of people choose to handle things in different ways from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the best thing you can do is for whatever
Don't say
group.
midget.
Yes, don't say midget, because people, little people have sort of declared and popularized the idea of little person as being their preference.
Yeah, and that's basically what I try to go with is like whatever is going to, make you feel like not bad.
No, I think it's an interesting question.
Because I don't know, and
It's always look, humans, and this is going to be true in the 24th and 25th centuries in Star Trek too, is that human brains are all about categorizing, and we have a desperate need to be able to classify and categorize things.
Well, we have to classify, or else we'd be stuck in a mind loop forever.
Well,
like this wood is formed to create a table. This is an energy drink.
You
Well,
gotta
what
put a
is it
label
made
on
up of?
something
And
so
I'm
you
not.
can move on.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not
That's-
arguing that
yeah.
we can survive without the
Basically.
classification, but I am suggesting that it's one of those advantages that's also a flaw.
Oh, of
It's an
course. I
advantage-
totally agree
yeah.
with you.
It's imperfect,
'Cause
right?
then you get stuck in trying to label.
Well, I mean, it's like with words. Words are, even the English language, which has so many fucking words, like 10, like an average of 10 synonyms for every fucking word. That means it's an expressive language. We have a lot of options when we're trying to form the thoughts in our mind, and yet it is still imperfect. And you can speak something and be very clear in what you mean, and it can be interpreted in 10 different ways by other people because they're coming at things from a different perspective. So,
English always turns into poetry.
And when people, and categorization can be used to, like Jesse, you said, move on. It's so you can build greater things, and you don't have to be. You can get higher level, and you don't have to be worried so much of this
Right,
low level stuff.
right.
You can count on specializations and things like that to use that knowledge to build something. It's how we progress and become whatever you want to call
It's
greater.
how
or
it's how our
progression.
brain works.
Yeah, it's how we turn dirt into a house or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But the problem is when people get too eager to do that because it takes too much thought. That has the opposite effect.
Precisely.
It doesn't move us forward. It takes us back.
yeah, they're trying to make a shortcut, and that shortcut will exclude
pun intended.
more nuanced meetings
Oh,
by
man.
squeezing people into very specific categories. And of course,
Squeezing people
it
into
matters less
tiny
when you're
little
talking about
categories.
different types of rocks or wood or something, but it matters a lot if you're talking about people.
Yeah.
And the effect on the person is to constrain them in some way. And so calling somebody a little person does not, in their view, constrain them because it is a descriptive that doesn't have any negative connotations, or at least overall negative connotations. Whereas midget, as I recall, is derived from midge, which is a name for a mosquito.
Oh.
Oh,
A mosquito, which means like, isn't that like eat the little musk or something? I don't know.
so I mean, what I was sort of bringing up the question of is when you call someone a this, and right on the one hand we do have to, find
I'm
ways to get
a
words,
white.
but as opposed to like you are a person that has this, and opposed to being
Right.
something other than or a
but-
person that has something.
It's all again. It's all about the structure of power. Nobody would have a problem with saying like, "Hey, you're a guy."
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that can be problematic if you didn't self-identify as a guy, but you're presenting largely as a male, primarily as a male. So you would not be offended by that, right? But there are alternative phrases that you might be offended by that would also be descriptive of you, but that they don't describe you, if you catch my meaning, right? So, and if the intent is problematic, right? So if the intent, even if your intent is not bad, right? You might not be meaning a bad intent by referring to somebody by a term, but if the original intent of that term comes from a historically problematic place, that's where the problem, I think, can can come in. And again, I think the fair thing is
There's
for
a lot of words like that.
people got to negotiate this shit, right? People have to. There has to be a fair like negotiation of it. As long as people aren't being fucking pieces of shit about it, you cut them a break and give them a chance to learn what people are preferring.
Since
at a
people
given
aren't
time.
looking for an excuse to be lazy, I guess. And then of course that goes with that is that the position that you just so happen to be in, regardless of anything that you may or may not have done, plays a role in that.
We're white people. We're
We
white
sure are.
men. We're not Christian men, really, strictly speaking, but effectively we are. We're raised in that tradition, whether we like it or not. And so we, through no effort of our own and no fault of our own, are the inheritors of the structures of society that give us benefits. Now we can sit here and be like, fuck that society, fuck those structures, we're against those, and mean that 100% sincerely. It does not remove ourselves from the position of power.
We're still in there.
We could be homeless on the street and still have an advantage over other people just on the baseline. That's just a reality. So folks in our position should be particularly cognizant of thinking about, how things are going to be, expressed in the most appropriate fashion.
Yeah, and I think people get bitter because they feel like they don't get the sympathy that they deserve. Everybody wants to have sympathy because life's tough, I guess, and everybody wants
you
to
hear all this not white power. That's a different thing. But what is it? Sort of like the incels and stuff. Like, oh, boo-hoo, I'm a sad white guy. Everyone's against me because I'm white. It's like, no, sorry, you can go fuck yourself. If you're white, you're all set. You have no excuse. I'm sorry. Like your life can be shit. Bad things can happen to you if you're white. Absolutely, you can be a poor. A white person has a hard time getting a job, whatever. Totally valid. You still, relative to other people in a similar position, are in a privileged position. Certainly in our society, right? Maybe that's not true everywhere, but consider that. And it's an interesting thing from the Star Trek perspective because as progressive as Star Trek tends to be, there also has been a tendency, largely because it's meant as a literary device, of creating these monolithic cultures. And TOS, TNG were especially bad at this. I mean, I don't blame them for the time because they were telling stories, but the Klingons are this way. The Romulans are this way. The Vulcans are this way.
Well, it's cool to go to different planets, right? But then it can be cumbersome to try to break down like every possible culture within that planet. But it becomes glaringly obvious over time what's kind of happening.
Deep Space Nine started to break that apart a little bit. Voyager didn't really have the time to do that, maybe a little bit. Enterprise, Enterprise made a point of showing like different styles of Vulcans and different styles of Klingons, like the Klingon blood scientist. And I think Discovery and Picard in particular, Picard, especially with the Romulans, has done a fantastic job of sort of breaking apart those existing Star Trek stereotypes about everyone, all Romulans are like this, all blah, blah, blah are like this, all Borg are like this, right?
Because you can see there's all this dark stuff with the Federation and Starfleet.
Yeah.
And then you meet all these Romulans that are just various different types of Romulans.
I'm remembering that scene where they were at the Kronos. Is that the name of the Klingon place?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's this sort of mountain. Like off, it's supposed to be look like it's something up in Tibet or something. That's kind of the imagery it's displaying. But it's the
Depends
Klingon.
on which show you're watching.
It's it's one. I can't remember which it's from.
It's always kind of like dark and volcanic. And
and it's just this sort of building.
mists.
It's just this building, and that's where all the Klingons gather. It's like every Klingon in the fucking world.
Building,
that square building.
That square building. It's like which Klingons?
That's
all
where
the
they
Klingons.
go.
But if not all the Klingons in the world, they've all agreed to it. On the other hand, too, that I guess there could be an argument made that when movement goes beyond our planet into space travel, there can be sort of a homogenization going on among planets because you have to unite sort of not against so much the other planets, but you have to find common ground when you're facing people from a different fucking
and some
planet.
cultures, like the Romulan culture, has repeatedly been shown to be a dictatorial, monolithic culture that enforces uniformity, right? But even in that case, and they did, even on TNG, they did this a little bit. Even in that case, people would fight against that. And what's really been cool on Picard, what we saw last week, is that we see that there are whole groups of people who have not only fought against it, but survived and thrived by saying, fuck you, we're not going to follow your goddamn rules.
The Blat Nazat.
Yeah, the Blickman Blick, the Baklava.
Baklava.
They all had better social skills than Elnor did.
Elmer's glue.
Elnor was particularly
women.
sheltered. Yeah, I guess he felt really out of place, I guess, you know.
So what did you think about these ads? Speaking of Elnor, and he got all sort of pissed off that he didn't get his own like pop-up ad.
So
yeah, that was a cool little bit with everybody's little sort of personalized pop-up ad.
Right. The ship, and it was the ship captain got this little like mechanical
Yeah.
The
dude.
Red Bolian.
I'm glad. I like that he was allowed to flick him, and the guy knows like, oh, they're gonna get us.
The
annoyed with this
Picard one
sometimes.
was some sort of
Tea house or something?
European
like fancy
tea
hotel.
thing.
Yeah, right.
Do you think it was like a tea house where you get like blowjobs while you're
I
drinking
don't know
tea?
if it was that kind of tea house.
At first, when I was
That's
sort
a
of
tea room.
when I wasn't paying too much, like there was that came up in a moment. I was kind of distracted for a second. At first, I thought it was some kind of fancy, brothel or something. But I was like, but then I went back to it later. I was like, wait a minute, they're all kind of like
Picard doesn't need a fancy brothel.
they're all
likes it down
representative
and
of
dirty.
So Picard got something that fits him, right? Royce got something that fits him. Raffi got fucking drugs.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, what was the name of that guy? That guy's name was Feely's Venom Garden.
Oh, the drug man.
It made me think of Mr. Steely on Rick and Morty. Feely's Venom Garden,
yes.
which I want to go to.
So
That was a cool looking.
I saw the sign for it when they flew into Stardust City. I saw the sign. If it's real small, but you can see they kind of fly past Feely's Venom Garden.
Agnes had some kind of robot thing.
yeah, so she had some kind of Rock'em Sock'em robot from like that Real Steel movie or whatever. And now, could that be more of like sort of a hint of her like fighting,
Well, that's a hint of her-
fighting prowess?
Yeah.
Like she knows some Krav Maga or some shit secretly.
Well, it was all like Agnes with the knockout.
she's-
And
she's
was
like a
kind of
military-
I thought that was foreshadowing.
She learned some baklava from the Kawat Malat.
Yeah, got some delicious bread. But it's just another hint. Remember, she was good at shooting. She was
I bet
good.
the hummus was really good.
She was good at shooting those. What thing? They don't chickpeas out there.
They got Romulan chickpeas.
No, remember she was good at shooting all those Romulans before, and then now she has this shit where she suddenly gets the fighting thing. So those ads picked what each person was good at. Whereas Raffi was good at drugs, and so they picked what Aggie was good at, which is secret fighting. Now that could either be she has a bunch of secret training, or it just sort of picks what's on her mind, and what's most recently on her mind is how she's like.
And she also works with robots.
It's like an updated version
yeah.
of looking at at your browser history. It
But
just,
I agree with you.
Reads your mind or something.
I agree with you that like even though I think the surface level thing is she likes robots. She works with robots, so give her a robot. But I do think that it's supposed to imply
She
something.
also likes to kill people.
It's sensing something about her.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. We didn't get to see if Seven got one.
Yeah.
Which would have been interesting, but she wasn't there at the time. So what are you gonna do?
Elnor didn't get anything because he doesn't think about nothing and he's got no indulgences.
Yeah, I was. People were discussing that. It's like it's kind of interesting why it didn't bother. Maybe he just knew he didn't have any like credits on him or something.
Yeah, I mean,
He's got that happening jacket though.
He does have it happen in jacket.
I mean, what else does
he
he
like
need?
spins around and says that thing in Romulan.
Yeah, and they're all just like,
aguardiente. What was that? Aguardiente. What was he saying?
I didn't know.
I don't know what was going on with that.
know.
I don't know what was
It was
going on with that
hilarious.
scene.
I thought it was
That
cute.
scene
I
was
did not.
weird.
I didn't totally get it.
Yeah, right. I didn't.
But they were doing. I mean, okay. So I didn't mind it. I thought it worked out well. But it was the Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was like the Steven Soderbergh. Like we're going to show you the thing while we're also showing you planning the thing.
They did that cutting. They sort of did that cutting thing they did from the first or second episode. Remember,
It was
where
similar,
where
but it
they
made
cut
more
to
sense here.
The digital forensics.
It seemed more purposeful
third
here, whereas
episode.
that seemed almost like an afterthought. Whereas here, it was like it seemed like it was planned out that they were going to be like, oh, we'll do it like
Yeah, it
Ocean's
was because
11.
it didn't feel as rushed because you saw a little scene and then they talked for a while and other stuff and then a little scene. It wasn't kind of like spliced too stressfully back and forth.
The plan was not particularly complicated. It was like you beam down, and then when the guy's like, "Cool, we'll beam down." Like that's the plan. Like, I mean, there wasn't a lot of like subterfuge or breaking in. They didn't have like Chief O'Brien breaking into the computer systems or something.
It was pretty straightforward. I don't know, the whole...
Raffi's got a bunch of slick tricks from Starfleet intelligence that she keeps whipping out. And,
Oh yeah,
She's
now
pretty slick.
the trick she pulled out, she got a what's it called? A reference.
She invited herself.
Yeah.
She invited herself. What was she? She was like, what? This is an old Star
in the Facer Guild.
She was like, this is an old Starfleet trick.
Yeah.
Picard was like, huh.
Yeah, right.
He did that uncomfortable kind of like, huh.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't want to hear about that part.
Yeah. And she got a reference. Now the question is did she ask for this reference, or did she just write it in because
I think she just made it up.
like the reference was fucking
From Quark.
yeah, man.
And
so,
Quark's bar has a franchise on Freecloud, on Stardust City. There was a sign for Quark's
I'm
bar.
saying, you think that's just a coincidence?
I mean, they met in Quark's bar.
It's kind of an Easter eggy thing, right? It doesn't have any significance to the plot, but I just was thinking, like,
So here's where I really like Picard's world building, because it's a limited series. They only have so much time, and they got to get into it quick, and it's a whole new era of Star Trek. And I think they've been doing a really good job with the world building, partly because they've been subtle with certain things. And one of those things was they meet. All the action appears to be going on in a franchise of Quark's bar. When they land and when they zoom into Stardust City.
Oh, were they actually in Quark's bar?
Yeah, there's a big sign that says Quark's bar. Now,
I missed that part.
I totally missed that.
And oh, by the way, right next to Quark's bar is Mr. Mott's Hair Emporium.
Mr. Mott
with a neon outlet silhouette of Mr. Mott. Now, my presumption, and I think it's well supported by the evidence, is it's not that Quark has moved to Stardust City to start a bar. It's that Quark in this era has achieved. I mean, he's the brother of the Grand Nagus and all that. He's achieved wealth. In fact, they refer to Quark of Ferenginar. He's probably sitting pretty on Ferenginar, and has a whole franchise of Quark's bars all over the place.
On his way to being Grand Nagus.
So since they're meeting in the bar, and this woman, it wasn't clear if she was running the bar or if she just kind of chilled there and was the boss by virtue of being powerful, like mob style. But I think the impression you fake a reference from Mr. Quark because you're in his bar, and that's going to like get you in quicker with the lizard guy.
It's a harmless Easter egg. There's no fucking thing about it. It just, in my head, I was just thinking it would have made more sense, and maybe I'm being too like clumsy about this. It just would have made more sense if somebody who knew Quark put him in as a reference or something, because it's just like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just to show that Quark is that his shit is that ubiquitous.
Well, another little Easter egg that was fun is when you're kind of doing the fly into the city and you see Quark's bar.
That was a cool fly-in.
It was really cool.
That was really neat.
And again, good world building. You see Mr. Feely.
Actually rewinded it a few times.
Yeah, you see Feely's Venom Garden in the background. You see Mr. Mott's Hair Emporium. Then you see the sign that says Quark's Bar, and then it has an ad for Damjat. There's like a picture of a Damjat table, like hologram, floating above it. And then there's on the marquee of the building is a slogan that says, "What's yours is ours." And that's funny because not only is that a funny slogan for kind of a seedy bar casino joint, but it's the inverse of the slogan for Ryza, for the vacation planet Ryza, which is what's ours is yours.
Oh,
so that's like a double extra mega super duper deep fuck yeah Easter egg, where it's combining like multiple franchises and planets and shit and clever wordplay.
Right.
Yeah. Also,
we know Picard's been to Ryza, and Jonathan Frakes, his character was really into Ryza.
Picard's been to that
well.
Ryza tea house where they give you blowjobs while you drink tea. By the way, I'm invested in this idea.
in which idea?
A tea house where you drink tea and wear a top hat and discuss the day's events.
You have to wear a top hat.
Yes. I mean,
They have tea houses.
Mike's got a top.
maybe if you pay extra, you
In
don't.
Oklahoma, they have tea houses. I think they're Christian and stuff.
I don't. Yeah,
But that ain't
nothing
tea,
wrong with
though.
a Christian prostitute.
No, I never. Well, okay.
You got a problem with a Christian prostitute? Jesus,
I don't think I made that. I don't think I made that jump. Did you
Jesus
say there
was
was
really into
prostitution
Christian
involved
prostitutes.
at a tea house? There's prostitution.
I was just saying it'd be funny because
I said
Picard
nothing
gets this
about-
like ad,
yeah.
and I'm thinking, he's a Picard, he's a man of the universe. You know what I mean?
speaking of what's yours,
He likes the ladies.
what's yours is ours. Later on, they had a Freecloud family planning. It said where your baby is our baby.
I know, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be right, like, oh, we're all in
Comforting
it
or
together,
whatever.
right? But it sounds like, yeah, it's like, nope, you're our baby now. So,
Now you owe us.
yeah.
I thought that scene was. I mean, it was a rough scene, but I thought it was a really good scene with
Which scene?
Rafi and her son.
Oh, yeah.
in
Yeah,
that
that
baby
was cool.
family planning, because it was raw, but it came off as quite
Because
real.
You learn that there's more stuff you just don't know about Rafi. There's all this
Yeah.
other stuff that happened, and maybe
Conclave of Eight.
Maybe we'll know about. Yeah, what the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
That
right. I
sounds
know
like
that,
interesting.
that sounded like some
Like,
crazy
I hope we
shit.
learn about this conclave. Of
Is it going to turn out the Borg are like
'Cause-
are Catholic?
yeah.
Like the Pope is elected from among the Borg collective?
So when she says she's clean, she can't mean just snake juice, right? Is snake or
Snakeleaf.
snakeleaf? Snake juice. That was from
Snake
fucking
Juice is Parks and
Parks and
Recreation.
Recreation. So
That's
It's John Ralphio.
so
Janet Snakehole.
So there was a couple bits of foreshadowing or whatever you want to call it. So when she got the ad, it was for the drug house, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm so embarrassed." And then when she made that cocktail for Royce, it was like benzos and anxiobilios and
Well, it was beta blockers.
beta block. I think the beta blockers might have been a little overshadowed by the benzos. I don't
Well,
know.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
so,
right.
so anyone out
I
there,
didn't know
who-
they still had that in the 21st century.
well, yeah, no, they do.
Some
In fact,
ludes.
yeah. No, benzos are a
Ludes.
problem. Isn't it like Xanax a benzo? One of those psych drugs is benzo. Anyway,
I think
Benzo's a
benzodiazepine.
benzodrine.
well, yeah, benzodiazepine.
It's like puts you out.
Like Valium, I think is a benzo. Anyway,
Is
all
it?
I know is,
No,
is
that's
that.
I thought that was a. Oh yeah, Valium is a, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, we clearly need to do research.
Yeah.
Well,
It's good that we don't know too
we'll
much.
do research, and
different-
hopefully we'll
that's a
be back
different
next
podcast.
week.
Anyone who's not a doctor that knows all about that shit, just keep your eye on them.
So,
Give us
for
give
the
us
folks
some feedback.
Just give us some feedback.
for the folks out there in the internet land who, if you ever have to do any public speaking and did not know about this little trick, it's used by a ton of public speakers. I've done it myself.
Everybody's in their underwear.
No,
He's about to give me a suggestion.
you take a beta blocker. A beta blocker
he
you
was
can
just
get from from your doctor. And beta blockers, it's not something you don't need to take it every day, but it doesn't really have any side effects. It's not dangerous. What a beta blocker does is it blocks, I guess it's the beta receptors, but the long and the short of it is it blocks the uptake of adrenaline. So if your body releases adrenaline, it's going to be taken up by your brain, and that makes your hands shake and all the crazy other shit happen that when you get nervous. Now, the thing about a beta blocker is you can take it for public speaking, take it about an hour before you go on. It does not make you not nervous. So if you're nervous, you're still going to be nervous. What it's going to do is it's going to make it so your hands don't like uncontrollably shake.
It's
and your
common
knees
among
and stuff.
It's common among musicians too. A lot of musicians.
Yeah, I think
you have to get a prescription for it. But yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty,
Most doctors, I think, will give you. I mean, okay, this is medical advice. This is the It's Got Medical Advice
yeah,
show.
do everything we say.
Because if you're playing live, you don't want your hands to be shaking, but you want to be just enough nervous to be on point.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that's why I
exactly.
drank. I should have taken the beta blockers instead.
Yeah, well-
I mean, it's not the only reason I drank, but it's what I told myself while I was playing.
So when
It helps.
So when they gave him the hypo spray and the first words were beta blockers, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And then she's like, and benzos, and I was like,
Yeah,
wait
yeah,
a second.
right.
I was like, okay, the beta blockers probably sufficient for the purposes
Yeah.
of like not letting the you smell like adrenaline or whatever.
Instead, it like kicks in this drug cocktail that, okay, first of all, beta blockers for the beta Anari, right? So the beta Anari is full of betas, and they're
Blocks
blocking
the-
those
blocks the
betas.
betas.
So it should have been enough by itself. It blocks the it's just Anari then, and what can they do? Nothing. So
Anari ain't good for nothing.
ain't good for nothing without them betas. So you got to block them betas. But so when you put in a cocktail of a bunch of crazy shit, as soon as you feeling threatened, it kicks in. That's the deal with that shit. And it was very visible. His eyes came all squinty and shit. Okay, if these beta Anaris can smell lies, don't you think they could smell a completely like 180 mental state? Don't they think they could detect? Any normal person can detect, whoa, that guy just like got all squinty. He's someone who's fairly fucked up. You inebriated, you can kind of like tell, right?
he maybe also wasn't that smart. I mean, 'cause
Yeah,
you
he
can see somebody
probably not.
over rely on their.
He was a
skills.
goon, effectively.
Well, he had like 1,283 olfactory genes. How many do we have? I don't even know.
Just because you
Just
can
one?
smell a lot doesn't mean you can.
1,253.
I think he was distracted by the bacon.
Yeah,
because he was like, yes.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was an
Some
obvious bacon
smoked-
joke. Oh, you must have had
smoked
some sort of
meat.
smoked meat
Yeah,
for
what was?
breakfast.
Yeah, I was wondering what was that smoked meat?
It was an obvious bacon joke.
Bacon.
About what bacon? Why bacon?
Yeah, regular bacon, Canadian
Just
bacon.
just referencing bacon?
Because people still eat bacon in the future.
Okay.
You must have eaten bacon. You're a
Okay.
human.
It wasn't salmon and lox.
Yeah, they should
Probably
have been
about-
eating salmon and lox.
It's probably about bacon. I like that. What I was saying was, okay, all the benzos and all that shit. She got the drug ad, and then she goes down and sees her son Huang. Right?
Mm-hmm. Gabriel.
Gabriel Huang.
Huang.
And she's like, I'm clean now. Now, does she mean I'm clean since I was doing snakeleaf like 3 weeks ago, or does she mean snakeleaf she's taken and that's considered pretty clean?
Snakeleaf has been demonized, but don't criticize it.
It's the fucking Romulan ale producers that are against the snake leaf.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy.
It's a
the
conspiracy.
fucking Tranya, the Tranya and Romulan ale, and the
So she's not clean from.
Snakeleaf is a racist word.
So she's. Wow. Okay. No, I'm with you on that one.
It's probably
I
like
agree.
developed by like Cardassians or something.
So-
Spoonheads.
I was just wondering if
Those damn spoonheads.
when she's clean, I guess the assumption is she's not taking benzos and anxiotidos anymore. She's just taking snake leaf.
I don't even think
guess.
she's taking snake leaf. So
She did it as recently as a few weeks ago.
yeah, but I think we're also supposed to see
Presumably.
this as she last minute decided to go on this trip because in her mind she was like, if they're going this direction, then that's, I want to go, whatever. It's not entirely clear, but I'm guessing like a lot of addicts, she's like, I'm clean now. Let's be a normal family. And he's like, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Because you just showing up without contacting me and showing up where at like my fucking OBGYN appointment with my pregnant ass wife.
Yeah, she made up a lot of assumptions about what was going to
Yeah.
happen on that meeting.
And one reason why I like that scene was on the one hand, we're wholly sympathetic with her, and especially because clearly the whole conspiracy thing that she was ranting
Oh,
on
yeah,
about
that's
that disrupted
probably-
her career
she
and
was onto
disrupted her
something.
marriage. We know that there's something going on there, but from the boy's perspective, it's his mom who abandoned him for some conspiracy theory, like she's a fucking QAnon equivalent from the future, and
this is real though.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, your credibility gets destroyed if you're high and shit, and you have like
And-
some real, but you're onto something for real. Except for that movie with I never saw the movie with the airplane and the upside down airplane. Denzel.
Oh yeah, where he was drunk and then
Yeah.
saved everyone's life by turning the plane upside down.
Yeah, I didn't actually see the movie, but
Nobody did, but it's a good movie apparently. Yeah. I think that's true of a lot of movies.
yeah, no. I mean, I'm with you on that.
I will personally vouch for hundreds of movies that I haven't seen.
They're really great. You should see them.
So yeah, so you were saying, yeah, it's the scene was it was believable. Now maybe he's on, and at first it seems like, oh, it's understandable his position, but come on, she's changed now. Maybe she isn't though in a way. Maybe after he rejected her, maybe she's gonna go through a stint where she gets really fucked up for a while. I don't know.
I think it's you could have seen this scene in a primetime drama about a mom who abandoned her, like a police chief mom or something, or a police lieutenant who decides to try to reconnect with her son who she abandoned long ago.
like Jim
because of
Carrey
the-
when he played an alcoholic in that after TV movie. Or that after movie TV, after
After school
special.
special.
It wasn't even a special. It was like a movie, but I made for TV movie. That's what I was. There was a combination of words.
I learned it from you,
TV.
Dad.
After TV, there's a movie.
After TV, we are currently living in the after TV period.
That's where we live.
That's now. We don't watch TV. We watch CBS All Access.
Jim Carrey played an alcoholic son in some kind of
Yes.
movie. This was right around
Yes.
Living Color.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone knows that.
Check it out on IMDb.
So that
But this
there was a
scene-
reason I said that. I don't think it was important.
No, but the thing is what I think you were just picking up on what I was saying about how this is a scene that it could fit into any family drama
Yeah.
about a woman. She shows up out of the blue to a distant, far out outpost, to find a child who clearly doesn't want to, has not told her where he is. She has a fucking bag with her. Like, she's just like, I'm going to stay with you. Like, it's a lot of presumptions, and it's coming from a place of hope.
But desperation.
But it's also not going to work. And again, I love that they did not point this out. They let the audience figure it out. To win back her son, she has to prove the conspiracy. So her new motivation will be to prove the conspiracy. That's not that she went back to the ship, because if she just wanted to say fuck my son, fuck my life, she would go to fucking Mr. Feely's Venom Garden and just and get wasted. She got back on the ship because she's like, all right, we got to sort this fucking shit out. Picard is the only guy who is going to get me close to being able to actually resolve this, or I'll fucking die trying. So I think that's where that character is now positioned to be all in on trying to solve this mystery, which is cool. Especially since we have some other people like Jurati, who is all in apparently on disrupting things.
Yeah.
She's got something going on there.
Well, first of all, do you think about when they said the stowaway back at Raffi, when Picard was like kind of a dick a little bit when he came? He wasn't a dick to her, but like quietly to himself, he was kind of a dick because he went up to her room. He's like, Raffi. She was like, leave me alone. And he kind of smiled to himself, gave a little chuckle.
I didn't think he was being a dick.
He was just kind of selfish.
There's this tradition of people doing nice things, and Dan being like, fuck that guy. Fuck that piece of shit.
I believe that you believe those memories. I believe that you think you're smart.
No, they're yours. No one can take them away. That was such a sweet thing, and he was an inner light where he had his own fake memories.
Right.
Why
Dan's like, fuck him, you condescending old fucking piece of shit.
Well, in this case, he wasn't condescending. In this case, he was like selfish, basically. Self-gratifying. I don't know what the
well, he doesn't.
So she's like miserable and depressed and stuff, and of course he's gonna leave her alone because she asked. But he's secretly happy that he didn't have to deal with her, and he's really like,
okay, maybe.
And he's secretly happy that she's back. He's secretly happy that she's back, and he doesn't have to fucking deal with it.
He doesn't know about the thing with her son. Like there's no reason to suggest that he has any knowledge of any of that.
Yeah,
he doesn't know. Yeah.
So,
okay.
So, I mean, I'm saying all he knows is that she went down, she took a bag, and she's like, see y'all later. And she went down to the planet,
well,
and then she came back. For all he knows, maybe she lost all her money.
She's back, and he's glad that she's back.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously it went poorly for her, though. And no, of course.
Yeah.
And of course he's glad she's back. I mean, he's glad to have her around, but for selfish reasons, because it's going to help him.
Honestly, it's a good point. I'm coming around.
It's,
I
mean, it's to himself, so he can battle those demons on his own. He's not pressing it on anyone.
Well, I mean, you made me think about the fact that, like, on the one hand, he went back, he went to get Elnor at Vashti, and that's sweet and all, but he kind of just got him. Like,
I need you because you're young.
Said is because you need somebody to help you, and also, by the way, you feel guilty that you never found me a fucking home. But by the way, quick aside.
Oh, and I left when all shit was going south.
Yeah, I just left all abruptly. And never came back.
I have a theory.
Okay.
That at the end, I don't know if it's the end of the season or at the end of the 3 planned seasons or what, I think that Elnor is going to end up in charge of the Picard vineyard.
Oh,
calling it now. Picard always wanted a son. Picard was a father figure to Elnor.
Yeah.
I think
Elnor,
there's a few steps. I like that because there's a few steps to make to that, but I can see it.
And he's got those 2 other Romulans just chilling there.
Well, Picard stressed, I promise I will find him a suitable home. And Picard kept saying the vineyard is not his home. He never felt like home to him.
That ain't his
It's not his home, but it could be Elnor's home. And then there's the whole thing about, a Romulan having a prominent position in on Earth and how that could be helpful for future peace. Because even Laris and Jaban, I mean, they seem, as far as we know, accepted in the community, but it's different to be, the running and be a young person building a family on this compound, basically.
So sure,
7 of 9.
7 of 9.
7 of 9. What do you think about her? Okay, first of all,
we still haven't really gotten to the first like real too much about the first real scene, right? I guess 7 of 9. I guess that's where we're going.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at now. So they make the agreement to go down, and they need Maddox, right? So they make the agreement to go down and trade 7. We don't know her ulterior motives.
There's the
yet.
video that Agnes is watching of her and Maddox.
Let's hold on that for a second, because I think there's something very important in that video.
Video is gross.
I think there's something extremely important in that video, but I think it makes sense if we talk about it more when we talk about Agnes's thing.
Making out with a mouth.
So when they go down and everything goes down. So first of all, I the first time I watched this through, I thought the woman's name was Witch Hazel. And then I was like, wait a second. They're not saying Witch Hazel. Are they saying like Vajazzle?
Yeah, I was wondering. I couldn't stop hearing that one.
And then I guess it's Bezazel.
Bezazel.
It's Bejazel.
Bejazel.
Yeah.
Bejazel.
Bejazel.
That sounds like an Old Testament.
you think she was-
name.
It's spelled Bjayzl. Bejazel.
You can spell anything any way you want.
Yeah. Say the word.
Star Trek, Star Wars.
You can replace
Call it
the A
whatever
and
you
the R.
want.
Make it
Lord of the
STRA and call it
Rings.
Star.
So
Elnor,
So, but
son of
she,
Elrond.
I mean, she did. Everyone's talking about it on the internet. She really did look like a young Deanna Troy. I don't.
Oh, right, yeah.
I presume that wasn't on purpose. But I don't know. She really evoked.
she's
That.
just
There was like a whole article.
Mediterranean.
I'm wondering if she's Beta Z. I mean, she didn't seem to be like reading minds or getting advantage from that. So I don't know if that's
I don't
the
know.
case.
She seemed pretty human.
Nikar Zadigan. It's the name of the actor.
Oh, word.
Nikar.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, we already talked
been
about
in
this, Dan.
stuff.
We had a long conversation about this.
About what?
About being woke.
Oh my god! I was hoping that one could kind of fly under the radar. I kind of grimaced to myself. I was like, ugh.
I said
saying it.
the M word.
Yeah. All right. I'm just okay. Yeah.
You cardi bastards, you spoonheads.
Damn spoonheads. It's always the spoonhead.
I first saw her outfit and I was like, that's stupid. And then after like 10 seconds, I was like, that's awesome. Because I don't know, I'm foolish, but the wicker
It reminded me
shoulder
of-
blades or shoulder pads or something.
Yeah. It reminded me of 7 of 9 when she was in Voyager. Kind of reminded.
Oh
me
yeah,
of
because of
more.
that. Yeah, I know what you mean. That kind of
more
form-fitting.
flesh color.
Okay. What's the deal between Bejazzle and 7 of 9?
Yeah,
They,
it seems like there's some kind of.
They had sex with each other.
That's what it
Were
seems
they
like.
going
Yeah.
tunnel to tunnel?
Personal
Woke talk.
woke talk, woke talk, pro LGBT, especially
Cute.
the L.
Yeah, especially the L.
No, but I do think that the
LGBTQ.
it appeared to me that
Something else.
the interpretation there when Vajazzle said our personal history,
Right.
it definitely seemed like it was more than we were hanging out and fighting bad guys together.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just something. There's a suggestion of something.
Why was
Something happening.
And the reason, so I was talking before about how they weren't getting anesthesia or whatever, and I think there was a motive behind that, right? Because she took kind of glee in the idea of talking about her Seven's quote unquote son or whatever, and maybe that's just to get back at 7, just to gloat.
Yeah, right.
As a power
Right.
move of some kind. But why is she so fucking... Then I was like, why is it so fucking personal that she has to tear her down?
Right.
And that's more evidence, I guess, to say
Yeah.
that they might have had something because, like, she feels really hurt
Yeah.
or
You
something.
could imagine a scenario where 7 of 9, who it's important to note at the time was going by her human name Annika, and then later reverted to 7 of 9, probably after the betrayal.
Yeah.
So Annika has a personal relationship with one of her Fenris Ranger cohorts, one of her colleagues. They have a
Because
romantic
she was
relationship.
mentioning how like she was posing as someone like
Precisely.
us trying to help things.
So they have a romantic relationship, and not only does this person turn out to be working behind her back, not in a high-level spy fashion, but in a purely personal gain fashion of like on the side. It's like, oh yeah, while we're protecting shit, why don't I, grab some Borg here and there and sell their parts and make a fucking money on the side. In addition to undermining the values that that Annika, was trying to protect, the added thing that it was a person, she did it to a person she knew personally, Icheb, and had such a deep relationship with, would of course twist the knife even more.
Right.
So
It's
it's a tangled web.
Do you think that Bejazel. Do you think she just pulled out the parts? It was simply just easy money, don't care what it's for. That's all I'm doing this racket for, is just to make some money. Do you think there's any other motivations? Or do you think it's just she kind of made the money along the way? She somehow met up with Seven, Annika at the time. Like, it seems... there was no tie-in to that? It's just they kind of.
I think it could
paths.
be. It's almost irrelevant.
Why would she present herself as a friend just to get more robot parts?
She wasn't even necessarily presenting herself as a friend. She may have been, in fact, been a friend.
We don't really know what happened.
You know, and maybe she got close to Seven for ulterior motives. Maybe she just liked Seven and had a nice romantic relationship with her, and separately from that, you know, had the opportunity to do this. You know what I think about? It's the analogy of those guys who go around and they kill black bears and they just cut out their gallbladders and send them to China because some Chinese people in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a lot of uses for the black bear gallbladder, and it's a really fucked up thing because they don't
have a lot of black bears in China.
Yeah, and in fact they do this horrible thing where they'll actually hook a black bear up and just and fucking stick tubes straight into its gallbladder and drain the bile from the gallbladder and leave the bear alive, and they starve the bear because that makes the bear produce more bile. But in America, there are a lot of poachers that will just go. They don't chop up the bear meat. They don't use any of the bear. They literally just kill the bear. Maybe not even kill it. They disable it. They cut out its gallbladder, put it in a fucking tin, and sell it to China for $100 a gram.
And we sort of have personal experience with this because your cabin out in the mountains.
Yeah,
there's a lot of poaching that happens there of black bears.
And we've seen guys driving around in the middle of the night, and you're not allowed to shoot at night.
We've heard stuff at night.
Yeah, you hear the guns going off. Those are poachers because it's illegal to hunt at that time, and also kind of stupid.
I'm not hurting a bear, man.
But I think that's what the attitude is with the Borg. Is they're nothing. They have valuable chunks that you can rip out of them.
Yeah.
As long as they're disabled, who the fuck cares if they're awake or not?
Right. I mean,
it's distasteful.
Right. People do all sorts of shit for money. So you think that there's no possible tie-in to the reclamation happening in the artifact by the Romulans? You don't think there's any tie-in going on, that they might be?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Although you could argue that
seems
the
like Romulans are trying to wipe out every trace of Borg, because they don't like synthetics, right? So they're wiping out every trace of Borg there is.
But to be fair, on the Romulan Borg artifact, they are, at least appear to be, attempting to rescue these people and doing it under proper surgical conditions and monitored by multiple.
I mean, a lot of those people are Romulans.
They do imply that they're then taking those parts and perhaps reverse engineering them or something. So.
Right. So they, I mean, those people they're trying to say that's probably PR couldn't get away with killing those people, but they're probably just like, we want all the Borg parts we can get. We don't care how you get them.
Yeah, maybe they're buying them up.
Maybe they're buying them up to reverse engineer. Maybe they're just trying to completely.
I think that's a good point.
Or they could just be, or they could be trying to just eradicate all presence of the Borg because they don't like synthetics anyways. I don't know.
Well, and one presumes, I mean, who knows, but one presumes we'll probably see Seven again before the season is out. I don't think we've seen the last of her. She gave a little device or something to Picard to indicate.
Yeah, what was that thing? It was a little SD card.
Or something.
Little business card.
It's like in the olden days where you like put a rune, you carve a rune into the fence, and then other people who know about the runes come by and they're like, all right.
That's way back.
Are you talking
in the
about
day.
like some like?
It's like a future rune.
A future rune?
Yeah, future rune.
It's like a future rune. Yeah.
A future rune. You're not talking about some like the secret door builder society.
A future rune. It's 1/8
builder
future.
Bird.
What are they called? The Masons. They're like the Masons. Are you talking about Masons? Or the Moonies? Are you talking about the Moonies?
The Moonies are the Korean.
Okay, the Moonies and the Masons are not the same.
No.
The Moonies drive around in those little cars, right?
No.
That's a particular group of Masons that do that.
That's the
Shriners.
The Shriners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Shriners is a subsect of the Masons, essentially.
Okay.
But
so these runes, okay.
Yeah, like the old guilds, you would put a rune on the fence okay. All right. Side story. True historical deal. You would go.
True history.
You're wandering.
Now it's time for True History with Patrick Ireland.
You're wandering to Earth.
Oh, I shouldn't have said your last name. Sorry.
You can say my last name. Okay.
it's on the website.
You're wandering.
You're wandering to Earth. And
what?
you need a house to stay in at the night. This is olden days.
So you 1300s. You get your yurt.
No. different part of the world, right? So you're in Western Europe, perhaps England,
Where they use runes.
where they use runes.
Northern Europe.
You are going from house to house. You need a place to stay for the
Cast
night
magic
because
spells
you're some sort of a traveler type, maybe an Irish traveler, maybe you're some sort of a Tolkien-esque dwarf, not a little person, but
Yeah.
Anyway, you need accommodations for the night. So you go knock on a door. They don't answer. You knock on a door. They say no. You knock on a door. People let you in. They treat you nice. They put you up for the night. They're cool. The next day when you leave, you carve a little rune in a little, spot on the fence or on the wall. And then that's an indicator for future travelers that this house has cool people in it.
Like back in the late 80s, early 90s when people would put that
Exactly
orange
like
sticker
back in the
of
late
that.
80s and 90s.
When people would.
It's a punk rock.
Is anybody going to let me finish what I'm saying before they mock it?
I'm not mocking you.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want to hear what I have to say.
I do.
Okay.
All right.
When people would put those orange stickers on their house that were shaped like houses. You don't remember those stickers? And I think it was around like my 5th or 6th grade I was in. So that was what, 1988 or something? I don't know how old I was.
No. It would've been later.
I was 10 in 88, so you would have been 8.
So how old are people in 6th grade? Like 11?
11.
Okay, so 1991.
Yes.
I had a friend, and his mom had one of these stickers, and you put the orange square sticker on your window. And the orange window sticker has got a drawing of a house.
It's a cool. You'll be safe.
What does it mean?
What it means.
If a stranger is
it's not for
chasing you down the street.
It's for kids. It's for kids to know this is a safe house to go in. Now, of course,
pursued by a strange person.
my first question is like, well, what if they lied and that's how they lure children in? But I'm sure the
molester puts the sticker there.
Yeah, but I guess they would be found out pretty quick, by word of mouth or
due to the
whatever.
molestation.
Yeah, due to that.
That's sort of a one and done rune.
So what you were laughing? What? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You finish, and I'm going to go off. on a tangent.
Okay, okay. So I was just
Please
going to say, like, the point I was making was very cogent, right? Is that the word?
Yes.
Cogent. I was making a cogent.
It is a word we have yet to see if it applies.
I hope that's the word, cogent.
No, it's because you were talking about you're talking about a fucking sign on your front door that says I'm cool, and that's what that fucking house sticker is.
Yes.
We're 100% in support of you, Dan.
No, I'm not looking for your support. I'm just saying, man, like, if you're just gonna make fun of me halfway through my sentence,
it's an ancient thing to put a charm on your door.
Yes,
it's an ancient thing.
I don't remember myself hanging on anyone's doors.
Jewish people have the mezuzah. That's a similar kind of charm.
Oh, what was the one where they like put a thing on your door and that meant the devil was going to kill you or something?
I don't know about that.
It was some kind of
that's
Old
not
Testament.
That's not a charm. That's a curse.
Yeah. It's like some Old Testament
you
shit.
put the lamb's blood on to tell the demons to keep going.
Oh, that's what it
Right.
was.
Okay.
Anyway, back at the
back at the yurt.
Back at the yurt. So a couple other things about the.
Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, that I thought of that card as like a bat signal. Is what I thought of. Is he plugs it into something?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
He's going to use that to call 7 of 9 in a couple of episodes. Hence,
and she is going to help
like
out.
John Wick 2.
And you're making me think that her concern with the Borg stuff. Obviously, it would make sense for it to somehow interact with what's going on with Soji, Narek, Narissa et al. On the Borg, on the captured Borg ship. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. One thing that was kind of awesome was how they get out of the situation and then Seven talks to Picard. First of all, real quick, super powerful scene. I think it was one of the most powerful. It's a very brief moment.
Did everybody catch it?
oh wait, are you talking about near the end when they're talking?
When they're talking,
When she goes, do you honestly feel that you've regained your humanity? He goes, yes, and she goes,
Right.
all of it.
Right. He's
he
like,
goes, no,
most
but we're
of it.
both working on it, aren't we?
Right.
And she goes, every damn day of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Oh, and they're
then what happens?
playing quotes from the Voyager theme music.
that's what I was going to mention.
Yes.
It plays the Voyager music as she goes down.
Right.
Yes. And
I thought that was awesome.
I thought that was really tight.
I was like,
whoa.
yeah, Yeah. When at first I was like, what's going on? And so I was like, you did. Oh, that was cool. It just like slipped in there.
Then she murdered a bunch of people.
Yeah. She didn't even wait to fucking beam out fully before she started cocking her Space Marine gun. Like, and remember when she asked for, I just need 2 phasers to go. He gave her this look like somebody asking for pills or something. It's like,
He's like, all right,
you're making me feel
Like, yeah, I
comfortable.
got him. I guess you can have him.
Yeah, right.
And by the way, it's not his ship. Those aren't his phasers. He just gave away Captain
It's
Rios'
like Rios'
phasers.
phasers.
Picard's just like, just do what you want.
There's like some hologram that's going to pop in and be like, where did my guns go?
All right, so I guess
the armory,
the
emergency armory.
the main final thing to discuss and wrap up on is
He's going to have a Russian accent.
is Jurati, right? All the stuff with Jurati, right? So obviously our previous predictions have been proven correct that there's something up. I don't think that was so much of a surprise. I think I might have been a little surprised that she is conscious. She seems to be a willing agent. She does not seem to be brainwashed. So if she was mind melded or something by Commodore O, then she makes reference to, I wish I hadn't seen, I wish they hadn't shown me.
They're making her do it for some reason.
So I think, well, at first when they
And she's also like has a crush on Rios.
yeah, she does have a crush.
So
on
she's
Rios.
like,
she was giving him
this
like
Maddox guy.
she was giving him like the
Because
friendly.
when she had injected him with that shit, and he was like, "Oh fuck," and she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." Like,
And she, and the punching game,
Yeah,
she
she did that playful
the
punching.
Playful
Yeah.
punching.
That was cute.
She wants it. But at first, when Maddox came back, when he was talking about Soji and Dodge, at first I was like, is she jealous or something? But like, no, she was getting prepared for what she was about to do. So
And I think trying to learn where Soji was.
yeah, right. So the facts that we have is he was saying they're out to find the truth on the robot ban, right? I guess this isn't really news, but kind of summing it up. He's saying there's a bunch of lies. Romulans are hunting for the Federation's involved in hunting probably too. It probably most has to be at this point.
and he lets Picard know where the other chick is.
Right. And
The 10th girl.
yeah, so
So
she knows and she knows, the thing is that she knows, like he doesn't know the lie. They're trying to find out the lie.
I know that you know.
And she knows the lie.
And Maddox all like knows when he sees Picard, he's like, oh, so and so must be dead because you're here. Like he knows that like things have worked.
Yeah, I didn't
out.
understand that whole thing where he knew that Dodge was dead.
well, he knew that
he's talking about some mom AI.
Well, he
or
was
something.
clear. He was clearly monitoring them,
They
and communicating with them.
They told Dodge to go find Picard, right?
Well, wait,
Like, whatever. Like the mom program was like, you should go.
was the mom AI literally that thing she was talking to on the fucking on her?
Yeah.
when
That's
that was a
clearly
mom?
whatever that is fake. I don't know if that's a digital mask on Maddox or what.
I was just
but-
wondering if that's what he was referring. It seemed like that's what
that
they were
Jenks
referring
was
to.
like, go to Picard, and then like that was all just part of the plan. Like, so he knew, like he woke up and he saw Picard, and he was like, oh, fuck.
How did she know she was dead though? Like, he was saying I knew she was
well,
dead.
I think that
I
was part of
still-
the deal.
That's
part of the deal,
confusing.
man.
I still don't think Dodge is dead, and I think him asking if she's dead is evidence that she is not dead.
Oh shit.
Right. Well, he's after he said I knew it when they blew my place up. So maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't think. Dodge
But
is
one
necessarily
thing,
dead either.
one presumes that maybe when they blew his place up, that's when he lost access to his, or at least easy access to being able to monitor
Yeah.
Dodge and Soji. And by the way, whoever else, because the implication repeatedly is that there are others out there. So it could be people we've already met, right? It could be people we haven't heard about yet. But a couple other key subtle points that were in there, right? So with Maddox, like I said, he seems to have assumed that Dodge is dead, but doesn't seem to know for certain.
Right.
Right? So that's one thing.
I mean, even though he indicated that I knew it, it wasn't. He didn't go into it 100%.
he keeps
so.
referring to the Tal Shiar. He thinks the Tal Shiar attacked him, but what he describes sounds like what the Zat Vash were doing.
Zat Vash.
So he doesn't, I mean, there's no reason for him to know about the Zat Vash, right? Why would he
right.
know about them if there's this mega secretive
It's
thing that
super-
we've
right.
never heard of until recently?
They just
right?
seem like the tall shit.
So he's going by the assumption it's the Tal Shiar, but we have it on good authority that the Tal Shiar is not in fact involved in this, and that this is something different going on, right? But I want to get back to that video earlier in the episode about the cookies, because I think that is a clue to the rest of the entire season.
Okay. Well. Okay. Yes. This is a clue to that point you're making right now, because I was
No, this is a clue to a thing I have not mentioned yet.
okay because Okay, yeah, go. I had another point on that, but if you think
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's nothing really like. It's just kind of that. I mean, basically where we're at right now is something's hidden. We don't know what it is. We're trying to find it out. She knows what's hidden. It's bad enough that she's gonna kill.
Break your mind.
Right.
It's breaking her mind.
And
He doesn't know what she's seen. Her mind is broken.
Right.
So
Her mind is broken.
She's got to kill this guy.
Right, and so she's got to kill.
She doesn't want to.
Right, she doesn't want to. That's the thing. And
She's sad.
she knows something. It didn't imply. I don't think it implied that she was being bribed with something. I think she thinks it's for the better good. And Soji.
Yeah, right.
And Soji, she's definitely going to go after Soji. We know that. When he talked about Daj and Soji, her eyes were kind of like, because she wants him dead. At some point, she's gonna have to go after the what's the name of the ship? What is the name of the ship? The Rio ship. I don't know.
The La Sirena or something?
So at some point, there's gonna be a point in this where she goes after the ship or something like that. Either that, or she has to make a decision, to like complete that she fucked up or something. But I mean, there's something like maybe what do you think? I mean, the Borg seems to be a central focus.
Well, so
of
we'll
a lot
get
of
to
Star Trek.
we'll get to the cookie thing in a second. But with Jurati, what we can tell from what's happened in this episode when she kills Maddox, she says that's another thing I'll have to atone for. When he refers to how important her help was to creating Daj and Soji. So she's saying she has to atone for killing Maddox and for helping create Daj and Soji.
Yeah.
He's all talking about like
Right.
perfect.
Yeah,
So-
and your help was essential, as he told her.
The video of her baking cookies, or of Maddox baking cookies.
And I already said this earlier, but like, kissing while you got food in your mouth, I know it sounds like a really immature thing to say, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it for the benefit of everyone else, so they don't have to.
It's not cool.
It's fucking gross.
They're eating cookies.
It doesn't matter if
No,
it's chocolate chip
no, he's
cookies
got, like,
or fucking,
cookies in his beak.
fucking
No.
tuna fish. It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. No, they're kissing. That part is just
It'd be
gross
funny if he was
kissing.
eating tuna fish and she was eating cookies.
and then they kiss. That would be
Okay,
intriguing.
no.
So if any kind of crumbly food and you're kissing, it's gross. It's oogie. It's disgusting.
You're delaying the massively groundbreaking 2 pieces of information.
I'm just
are related
building
to the cookie
suspense
scene.
with witty banter.
You're delaying. Dan knows he's got to tell a joke in a couple minutes here because this is the last thing we're talking about on the episode. 2 key points. I'm really eager to see where they develop, but I think they're very obviously important. Point number 1 with the cookie video is that doesn't look like it was taken that long ago.
Right.
So she seems to have been in personal contact with Maddox, perhaps as recently as 3 years ago, maybe before Daj and Soji.
It's been, it wasn't like it was the 14 years ago.
Exactly. She implied that the synths went crazy. Maddox got upset when they banned the synths, and then he ran off. And everyone agrees with that. Everyone agrees that Maddox, very soon after that, he ran off. Mm-hmm. The implication is not only that she's having a relationship with him.
It's a video in some sort of private apartment somewhere.
Yeah.
They're secluded away.
And he was in a good mood at that time. He wasn't he was hiding, but not necessarily on the run. He, in fact, seemed like in a very good mood. Maybe he had just had a breakthrough, for example. That's point number 1. Point number 2
He made 6 chocolate chip cookies.
that video obviously
replicated eggs.
Obviously, it shows you that they had a relationship and that she cares for him, which makes the fact that she kills him that much more of an impactful thing. But that can't be the only thing. He had to have been making a greater point by saying the cookies. He doesn't like the replicated cookies because there's an alchemy there. There's something that doesn't work. You can replicate all the parts and then put it together and make a good cookie. But what you can't do is make a good cookie purely from replication. And I think that has to be an analogy.
And she was all skeptical. She was like, you just set that shit on fire. And it was like, no, he was baking.
I think that
You're just some nerd from the 24th century that doesn't understand baking.
That has to be an analogy to creating the solution to creating the sentient androids that was eluding them before. And he refers to being perfectly imperfect. And he also implies that is the breakthrough that Jurati had, that you can't make a new data, a positronic brain, but you can create the pieces and put it together in some fashion, in some other way. And I'm really, and who knows, maybe it goes nowhere, but I have to think with the level of writing and subtlety that's been displayed on this show so far, that has to be something that's going to play into the end of this story, or at least at the end of this season, in terms of Jurati must be more involved than we realize. Beyond just giving, I don't think it was just like, oh, she gave him a good idea. I think she probably knows a little bit more than we realize, and she's feeling guilt.
She's involved in the creation of these sisters.
And she felt guilt prior to meeting with Maddox. So when she met with Maddox, and then he asks her about he says, did you meet Daj? Did you get to meet her and stuff? She says, no. Maybe
she doesn't like thinking about him because she has to kill him.
Maybe she, somebody on Reddit was saying maybe she gave birth to them. Maybe they were engineered somehow, and then that's how you get them. Is she gave birth? Maybe she helped contribute to the idea that the way you make a perfect clone is by making it imperfect, just like real life. By the way, I mean that's kind of like how
wabi sabi.
Yeah, exactly. The wabi sabi. Bobby Hill knows about this. Anyway, those were the two things I wanted to point out that I thought like sort of jumped out. Was like, clearly that video was more recent than however many years ago. And there's certain implications of that. And that the analogy of the cookies, being made and not just purely replicated, how you have to go through a process to make the cookies. And that's what makes them better. You have to cook them. You have to cook the android babies. It could be as simple as that. Maybe you just put the android baby in the oven and then it works out. I don't know.
Because they're not even making real tea. They're just replicating tea. Like, that's what happens.
And most
in the
people are
future.
fine with the replicated stuff, right? But I could buy. Yeah. I could see myself being like anal retentive about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the cookies, I can totally, and I was thinking about that too, about the sort of presented the idea, the difference between replicating the whole thing from a pre-made sort of idea versus, even though the eggs and milk and all that shit were probably replicated, still putting them together.
Well, and he specifies that they were, and that's what jumped out at me, because always in the past in Star Trek, when we talk about non-replicated stuff, it's because they're at a station or something, or they're at a planet and they get an egg or something. They're like, oh, this is not replicated, so it's really great. They made the point to say each of these individual components was replicated. But when put through the process of baking, the alchemy of baking, then it becomes something greater than the replicated parts. Right? And that's, to me, I have to think that that's got to be...
it's some sort of synth organic.
Yeah, some sort of metaphor for the creation of these creatures. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out next week.
I think you're onto something
totally,
there.
Absolutely.
Isn't though the transporter, that's just replicated human, right? Or life.
It's the same kind of thing where you're like taking, particles and rearranging them and
you're destroying them and then recreating them.
Right, yeah, making them appear again.
Yeah, there's a good discussion of that in the book, The Physics of Star Trek. And it talks about the philosophy of basically being murdered every time you take
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, it brings the idea of uploading your consciousness to a hard drive. It's like, do you have two consciousnesses now? Anyway, does it talk about why you can or cannot, the rules of transporting through a shield? Because the way this did it, they had to put a pattern enhancer so that Seven could lock on. She could enhance her pattern enough to go through the shield. Now that took a different approach than what I originally thought. I originally thought they just couldn't send the beam through to recreate them on the other side. But what they're saying is they just can't. It's not that they can't recreate them. They could recreate them on the other side. The problem is actually they can't focus on them to grab the right pieces.
And what they stated in the episode, they said this creates a tunnel. Effectively, it creates a tunnel that we can use, like some sort of digital.
Well, the last pattern enhancer I heard about, they had like these 3 big column things that they put around.
We should do a whole series of podcasts where we talk about like technology.
In the TNG.
They always put up those things.
They put up those
like
3.
Barclay would all be awkwardly putting it up, and people would be like, "How you doing, Barclay?" And he'd be like, "Oh."
That's what I think of pattern enhancer.
I raped some people that I know in the holodeck the other day, but I'm getting better.
Barclay.
Yeah, I'm down with the
Barclay turns into like a spider or something.
When he de-evolved into one. I'm down with talking about the technology of Star Trek.
I think it'd be fun, especially because a lot of it turned into real technology.
I have a bunch of those books from back in the day, like the one that talks about the Enterprise, the whole like the technical manual about the Enterprise, like. I have that one.
I have a couple versions of that.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we got to wrap things up and get to Dan's jokes and reading reviews.
Yeah,
so, any last thoughts about the episode?
Did you the part? I thought it was funny. I actually liked the part where they were Raffi and Royce were talking about
I'm Raffi and I'm Royce.
Number one.
Oh, you mean Rios?
Number one. Royce. I've been saying Royce this whole time. I know it's Rios, but I keep
just said Royce just now, and you made me look like a goddamn idiot.
I know. It's my fault.
It's okay.
I feel bad.
It's okay.
No, so when they had the discussion about Seven, it was sort of the gossip stuff they heard. Raffi says Seven couldn't have known Picard back when they knew each other, implying that Seven couldn't have known Picard back when I knew Picard.
She didn't say couldn't have. She was saying like I don't think they know. She said I don't think they know each other. At least not when I knew him.
They don't know each. I don't think they know.
I think,
and there's no reason for them to know each other.
Well, no, I thought they were just getting their facts wrong because she's just assuming that. Raffi's assuming she met Picard before Seven did, and actually, when did freaking Voyager and TNG take place? Probably before that.
Oh yeah, Voyager got back, during the TNG movies.
So it was
Janeway was in Nemesis. Right?
This isn't false. I'm pointing out. It's just I thought it was good, like funny how how gossip can sort of distort things. The way I took it is that they were Raffi was saying, "Oh, he couldn't have known her back when I."
But she didn't say that.
But after, yes, she did. She said she couldn't have known each other back when they knew each other.
No, she didn't say she couldn't have known him. She said. I don't think they know each other, at least not back when I knew him.
Well,
which implies that in the many years that she worked with him, she never witnessed them interacting with each other. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's a normal thing for somebody to say.
First of all, I never said there was something wrong with that. Well, I say the character. First of all, I remember it being couldn't, but we can confirm that some other part. But given what you say, couldn't, wouldn't. The point is no one knows about this relationship between Seven and Picard, and I think that it happened before they did. Anyways, you're saying that
there's never been any implication that Picard, including on this show, that Picard and Seven know each other in any personal way other than by reputation because they are the two most famous.
I think it's implied. I think it's implied through Voyager.
No,
I think it's
Voyager never meets Picard.
No, I think it's implied though. I mean, Picard knows everybody. Of course, he would have known. He would have known about this.
Everybody.
They're like
he would have
two
known
of
about
the most
Seven.
famous people in the galaxy.
Like we said last week, it could be that they met at like a Borg,
like an ex-Borg,
support group.
They're
which
the two
possible.
most. They're the two most famous ex-Borgs.
There's no problem with them having met. There is zero evidence presented that they have met, and in fact, the way they've interacted has kind of implied that they haven't met. That they just know each other by name.
Frankly, it's surprising that whenever those two are in the same room, that everybody in the room is not like, that's fucking Jean-Luc Picard and 7 of fucking 9.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
they should be the two most famous people in the galaxy already.
I think it was implied, but you say it's not. Okay, that's fine. There was another statement.
I hadn't seen anything.
There was another statement that I thought was kind of interesting. They said, Raffi said she was Borg, like him. I think it's more appropriate to say he was Borg like her because she was. How long was he a Borg for?
Just like a week, a couple of weeks or something.
She was like a hardcore Borg.
She was a hardcore Borg.
So I know it's from. My whole point is it's all from perspective.
But that's supported by your previous point that they're gossiping. They don't.
That's my point, though. That's my whole point.
He was like a high-ranking Borg.
That's my whole point.
He was fucking Locutus, man.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that's my whole point. Is that
he had a name, not a number.
That's why I'm saying my whole point of this is I thought it was a good scene of talking about how gossiping sort of like changes focus around how things are going. Raffi says she's probably from the Delta Quadrant. She says she thinks she's from the Delta Quadrant. She's not from the Delta Quadrant.
She said no. Well, she said I heard she's from the Delta.
Yeah, exactly.
But she's not. She's from Earth.
I didn't use the exact words that you did, but my meaning was the same as she's probably or I heard whatever. Like I heard. No, the point is she heard it from someone.
I agree with you.
Whether she originated from her or from someone else.
I 100% agree with you.
So look, my whole point is that it was just kind of like I'm just pointing out that it's interesting that gossip kind of switched. So how it sort of.
I think it's a very good point.
Fuck you, man.
I totally agree with you. I sincerely agree with you. You're getting all angry. I support your point. It's 100% correct. It's a charming scene where two people who do not know. I'm simply reiterating that do not know these people in great detail, and it's funny to hear them talking about bits and pieces of information they've gathered through reputation that are clearly not 100% correct.
Right. I think there was some effort put into making it seem like kind of not wrong, but sort of implied that it was not all necessarily based upon 100% fact, which is what gossip is. So, you don't have to. It's fine. I understand.
I'm
what
just
you're
so
saying.
frightened because I 100% agree with you, but I'm afraid if I say that, you'll yell at me. No, you're wrong, Dan. Go fuck yourself.
It was not in the words.
Okay,
But
it's not in the words. Runes, the M word.
okay, last thing. This is the last thing. When Annika was gonna shoot fucking Bejazel, she was like, "You're less than 5 seconds. Your second wave of security is coming in." I counted it out. 10 seconds. She shot her. 15 seconds is when the security came in.
You know, it's funny because part of me would like to be like, well, you know, it's just TV, it's literary. The other part of me is like, come on. Just if you could, why not say 10 seconds?
Yeah, and I understand.
It's the
Why not say
21st
15
century.
seconds?
And it's understandable when it's like 60 seconds left and they cut to scenes of them wandering around the deck trying to get. That's more understandable because you're cutting around from different.
And
things
also,
and stuff.
I also know the practical things. They're writing a script and they don't know exactly how it's going to be edited out, so we can't complain too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, come on, let's get with the program. It's the future. It's future runes. Future runes.
Future runes.
Yeah, future
various
runes.
bones.
Future rune is 1/8 rune.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you for listening to me. And I appreciate it. I'm being serious.
Okay.
I am always being serious, and you bring a lot to this podcast.
Oh man.
Always be
man.
closing. ABC. So, all right. So,
Thanks, Jesse.
It's joke time.
anything else? Does that do it for the episode? Can we move to reviews and feedback and all that? We can tell people all that information.
I think so. My main thing was the whole like Voyager music quotes.
Yeah, that was good. The music in general has been really great on the show and
Yeah.
varied. I like that it's varied. Each
yeah.
planet they go to
It
has a
does vary.
completely different music. The Vashti music was all fairy rune style.
Yeah.
The Freecloud music was some sort of techno bizarre future
Yeah,
Star Trek.
I love that.
It is good.
I love like space casinos and space indulgence,
And the
space decadence.
the Picard the Picard like title music.
Yeah.
It you know, you keep hearing it and it keeps kind of growing on you.
I'm digging it.
It's
And
like, yeah.
I'm especially digging it in contrast to the tone and music of the opening sequences. Like this opening sequence was the music, the theme music seems to fit. It does that transition really well. So this episode was some sort of body horror, crazy horribleness. And then it smooths right into that kind of, you know, lyrical, pastoral thing.
Yeah,
Gets
it was
you
really
wound
good.
up.
My favorite is not that we need a favorite, but my favorite is still the other episode where they played that sort of sprightly RPG party at the inn.
Yeah,
back
right,
in the
yeah.
ship with Soji and
To me, because I think your description is totally apt, but to me it just jumps out at me as Amelie music, that Borg, because it's like Amelie running down the street and sticking her hand in a bag of beans and stuff, you know, having joyfulness, this weird like kind of French influenced joyfulness.
That dude that
music.
eats like the tail of the chicken, and he's like, "Ooh."
Oh, the chicken butts are the best.
No, they are.
Turkey butts, even better.
Yes.
Duck butts, also good.
Yeah.
So we can just skip the whole, not that it's bad or good, but the Picard French accent finally, like British guy doing.
I like that.
I liked it too.
It was
Fine. It was
campy.
fine. It was
I love that. Okay, wave one. After each of these episodes airs, wave one is a bunch of people being like, "Fuck this, Picard! And why is he such a bad actor? He's a Shakespearean actor, and blah 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 blah. He's supposed to be French. Blah 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 blah." That's wave one.
Yeah.
It's too campy.
like,
this show
get
is too
over
campy
it.
and stupid.
He's Patrick Stewart.
Wave two is the people who actually know about Star Trek who come in and they're like, oh, it's too campy for you, and they start showing pictures of Picard dressed up as Robin Hood, as Dixon Hill, as fucking like hanging out with Sherlock Holmes and Watson, you know, in a top hat. They point out repeatedly that yes, Patrick
I am
Stewart,
not a merry man.
Patrick Stewart is a renowned Shakespearean actor. Captain Picard is not. In fact, they frequently Beverly doesn't even want to cast him in one of her plays because he's not very good. Yes, he likes to sit with Data and watch Data and critique Data on Data's acting. There are some scenes like that, but that's not. Picard is not coming across as a fucking Tony Award winning Shakespearean actor. He's actually not very good at it.
Data plays the violin also.
And he's gone undercover a couple times and has had some troubles being undercover because he's not that comfortable with it.
I'm wondering if those
He's not an intelligence officer. He's Starfleet.
But it makes him look, and I'm not saying I'm agreeing with you guys. I am agreeing with you. I think people maybe they're not used to seeing him in this sort of, what was it, appropriately sinister, that he said, I'm not even going to try to do yeah, like it was kind of like made him look a little undignified, and I think people are just so used to seeing him dignified all the time. But that goes along with this show, though, is sort of showing that he's not. It wasn't very dignified when he got kicked out of the office by Admiral Clancy. Yeah, that kind of thing, being told like you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Also, I dug that he basically did a Pink Panther Inspector Clouseau routine. Where it was like Mr. Vip. And he was like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's straight out of Pink Panther.
Yeah, he had to have nabbed that from
Does
there.
your dog bat? That is not my dog.
Hamburger.
Hamburger. All right, so that was another excellent episode. If you folks out there aren't enjoying the show, all right, that's too bad. Write us and let us know.
You're probably not listening.
We happen to be
this
enjoying
one.
it. We don't want to come off. One thing we want to make clear here, if you haven't been listening to us for a long enough time, is that we're not some kind of chodes that are just like, oh, Star Trek. Everything Star Trek is great. We're generally positive about Star Trek, but we are happy to criticize this show and other shows. We have many criticisms of other shows, even though in general, overall, we think most Star Trek is awesome. More Star Trek. Individual episodes and series are going to be for different people and different audiences, so not the three of us are not going to agree on everything in terms of what's the best or whatever, but more power to you if it's not working out for you. But I hope you enjoy listening to the show. You might not be, because we're not ragging on the show. We're talking about how it's like largely fun and interesting.
Was it perfection is the
It's a good
perfection
show.
is the enemy
Do
of
not
the,
let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
I always get that one.
There's
Because I'm not perfect.
there are very few episodes of any Star Trek series ever that we could call that everyone would think is
And some of those TNG
perfect.
episodes were so just corny, you know.
yeah.
But it's like looked about. Even though corny ones, they're kind of looked back on like nostalgically and lovingly, you know.
The Cages are really good.
The Cage is a good one, and In the Pale Moonlight is possibly a perfect episode. But again, that's my perspective. Other people are going to think differently. But anyway, you let us know. Write in.
50
Let us
Shades
know.
of Grey.
Let us know
Opinions are like assholes.
exactly.
Everyone's got one on their elbow.
No, they're frequently
Everyone's got one on the elbow.
They're frequently prolapsed, and you have to shove them back inside.
I don't have a prolapse.
What was it? It wasn't 50 Shades of Grey. That was a movie. That was
There was also a book.
the Star Trek episode that
It's a
sucks.
book that
It was just called Shades of Grey.
Oh, no.
That clip show. That's largely considered.
That's
the
always a
worst.
cop out when they say that's the
Clip
worst, because that's not a real episode.
Well, and the thing is, it wasn't 100% clip show, but that was due to the writer's strike. That was the second season, and the season was shortened because of the writer's strike.
The writer's
at
strike is
time.
the reason the
early
Borg
90s writer's strike.
the Borg was going to be introduced at the season finale of the first season, but because of the writer's strike, it got delayed till the second.
Yeah, something like that. Because,
And this end of the first season was like, no, one of them was like a fan fiction. Maybe that was the one where the Borg got. Anyways, one of them was where the Romulans got introduced as having weird foreheads. The new redesign.
the Northerners,
It was like
as we now know.
the Neutral Zone was the season finale, and then Q. Oh my God, what's the name of it? With the first Borg, it was Q something or other.
Is it Q Hugh?
Q who?
Is that?
Yeah, I think it's
that's the
Q
one with
Who.
the Borg. Is Q Hugh?
That's the
Q
first one
who?
with the Borg. It's supposed to be a
the
Neutral
second
Zone.
season has that one, and then there's another. There's a couple of Q appearances.
Well, because they talk about the Romulans having all. There's all those things getting blown up in the Neutral Zone that they later are like, okay, it's the Borg.
Yeah, and Q like flicks the Enterprise way off 2 years away or some shit, and so they kind of explore some planet, and Guinan's like, no, get the fuck out of here, and Picard's like, oh, we found some Borg, and Guinan's like, well, they're after you now. He's like, well, at least the Federation knows about it or something. That was Q who.
I don't think there's going to be any Guinan in the Picard show.
Oh no, there totally will be. He went on.
I
The
really,
View.
I really hope so.
He went on The View and invited her on the show, and
Oh,
she
man.
started crying and screaming, and
Oh,
everyone got all
man.
excited. So I'm pretty sure in the
That would
second
be so
season,
rad.
it won't be this season. It'll be the next season.
Okay, because like that's what I really want to happen. I just didn't expect like that I could have my cake and eat it too.
There's also a rumor that the Doctor from Voyager might show up in the second season. It's not confirmed.
Robert
yet.
Picardo needs to get
Robert
more
Picardo
roles.
rules.
That guy's
He was great on the Orville. There's an episode. Well, he plays
gotta
the
get
father
that.
of one of the characters on the Orville, so he's in a few episodes, and he's really good in one episode because Dr. Phlox is also in that episode.
Oh shit!
The Orville is like riddled. Deanna Troi is on the Orville. I mean, the Orville is like littered with Trek people. Tuvok is on the Orville.
Oh Tuvok.
Yeah, it was Neutral Zone was the was fan fiction because of a writer's strike, and one of the producers, something Hurley, he had to create the script in like a day and a half, and because of the strike, and that's when they introduced the Romulans, the redesigned Romulans, and there was some but so it was Q Who is when
it's a constraint that no longer
that was like in the
exists.
early 90s when there was like that big writer's strike.
Yeah, or late
one
late 80s, I think, actually.
It was late 80s because it was like
88. Because Star Trek 5 was affected by that too, I think.
That was still when like the Late Show was Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And that affected like I remember there was all this stuff with the Johnny Carson.
I know there was I don't know if it was
No
associated
monologue.
with the writer's strike, but there was a Teamster strike during the filming of Star Trek 5. And Star Trek 5 has there was a lot working against Star Trek 5, and we'll discuss
like
that.
the script.
Yeah, well, there's that. But even honestly, if you read the original script, it's pretty like the original script that William Shatner worked on with the writer guy was straight up that the Enterprise meets actual God, and then the studio Paramount was like, "What the fuck are you trying to do to us?
You
man?
can't do that.
Man, there needs to be more
This is
movies that
Paramount.
just straight up see
This
the
ain't
God
Disney.
or hang out in hell. Like
Yeah.
they need to go
well,
all the
there
way with
so
that shit.
one of the things in Star Trek 5, and again, we'll talk about this at length with more detail in a different episode. But like the end scene was supposed to have all these demon rock fire creatures that come out and try to like fight
Supposed to be like
them.
KOTOR.
Yeah, but anyway,
All right, we got to get to this.
we gotta go.
I think it's joke time.
It's joke time. Okay, first, thank you so much for writing in with comments. Please,
It's really great that people make comments.
definitely, if you can, if you're so inclined, please leave a review, a rating and a review on iTunes, ideally, because the world is a fucked up place, and that's apparently where like shit works. If you get reviews on iTunes, that's good for us. It doesn't really do anything for you, but it's great for us. So if you want to be charitable Star Trek
America's
philosophical people and help other people, write us a review on iTunes. I'd write one myself, except I use Android, so I'm fucked. What am I going to do?
We will work for reviews.
I got an iPhone, but I don't do anything.
Dan's going to do a joke tonight. He's going to do a joke for any review, good or bad. We're going to do a joke for that. So iTunes reviews, but you can leave us reviews, Stitcher, wherever the fuck else you can leave reviews, go for it. That's tight. But you can also email us, not just with, it's great when you tell us that we're awesome, but you can also ask us questions or send us your ideas of what's going to happen.
Tell us when we're being stupid.
If we're being dumb, tell us if you're really offended that I made an Octoroon joke.
I
with the
said
future room.
I said the M word.
Yeah, Jesse said the M word. I'm talking about future runes.
I was just generally offensive.
You got to let us know.
There's a latent misogyny.
We want to
Oh yeah,
learn.
the latent misogyny. Just we're totally aware of that, by the way.
We're here to learn.
But you can email
I'm
us.
here to learn, people.
inherent.
You can email us at
More like
feedback.
Borat. Sorry.
Feedback.
He's gonna do an
feedback
Adam
at.
Sandler. You love that. No, okay.
Shampoo is better.
Conditioner is better.
You can email us at feedback@itsgotstartrek.com or reach us on social media. You kids know what that's all about.
The social meds, as they call it.
And that is the @ symbol.
No one calls.
It's got Star Trek. It's got Star Trek. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the main things. We don't do the other bullshit.
YouTube.
We don't do that.
You can get us
TikTok,
good point, Jesse. You can
YouTube.
get us on YouTube. You can get us on the website it's got StarTrek.com,
Borg.
Stitcher, Overcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Apple Podcasts, whatever they call it, Google Biznatch.
And in your butt.
And if you can't find us on your podcast player, email us, let us know. And as we mentioned last week,
I think you
Or
can just
look
go to a website.
there's certain dudes you can rough up. We know the dudes to rough up. There's a bunch of incels that run some of these apps, and they're very easy to manipulate into getting us listed on the app. But
a
we
bunch of pussies.
we gotta we gotta know about it. we gotta know about it. So incels, don't kill people. The rest of you, feedback at itsgotstartrek.com.
Everyone, there's a reason to live, and just it's cool, man. We can all be happy with each
Take
other if we just
advantage of life.
let each other sort of in a little bit.
Having a weird tiny penis is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
There are other things you can do, like
You could.
we'll research that over the week. We'll research what options there are.
You didn't win him over with that one.
Gotta be. There's gotta be
I
something.
thought an idea would come to me, but I don't know. 'Cause
I have a trouble.
yeah, money's not enough. Sense of humor is not enough. Is it?
You got to be funny.
Funny works.
There was a Reddit post about like the advantages of having a small penis, and one of them was like, no one can tell through your biker shorts. And I was thinking, like, that's not an advantage to have.
But wait.
I think
Okay, I know we got to close down the show here,
Yeah.
but I question the logic. I think you couldn't you tell?
I think you
Yeah,
could
you
tell
could
with
tell.
biker shorts.
Like
Yeah,
in
you can tell
biker
the
shorts?
absence of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like it wouldn't poke out. I think the general consensus was this person was, I don't know, not just maybe a bit younger or something. I don't know, or just not with it. You never know with the internet, right?
And you never know with young
And
people.
I don't want to say that younger people are stupid because they're not. I'm just saying.
No, they're
The
not
inter-
all.
the
They're
internet
just
is bad.
they're learning, but you know, it was a weird
Learning.
reason. One of the comments was even like, I think that's one of the bad things that people. I don't want to say bad thing, just one of the concerns people have.
Do people even wear bicycle shorts?
You know,
I mean, I think if you're wearing bicycle shorts, you probably,
I don't want to get in on
confident
this
in
like.
that.
I don't think it's good habit to like get into like dissing on, because it's like, who am I, right?
No, it's because you think they're going to chase you down and fucking murder your ass because they're fucking losers.
Man. No, I just it's penis is a penis, right?
No, I'm not making fun of small penises by any means. Let me tell you. I'm just saying, look, the vast majority of people I know with tiny penises are cool people. I'm saying if you have a tiny penis and that is somehow informing extremist viewpoints on yourself, including an extreme lack of self-confidence, resulting in a sort of deformed, mutated opinion of women, of other people, of society. The small penis is not the excuse for that. That's just bad thinking.
Yeah.
You can have a small penis and be fucking rocking people's worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't be an asshole.
Like
about
John
it.
Wayne.
Yeah, John Wayne had a tiny ass penis. His name was Marion. That had nothing to do with the penis size. It was just that happened to be his name.
That happened to be his name.
And he did A-OK.
There's lots of people named Marion that are totally cool, apparently.
All right, so
Jesse knows one.
okay, so we are ready now
one too.
for reading the reviews. Thank you very much. We gave you the information for contacting us. So first, we got an email from Beverly in Canada who said, hello. She said, hello from one of the Canadian Star Trek Invasion Force.
Awesome.
My family enjoys listening to your podcast. Keep up the great
Her
work.
family?
Yeah, I was wondering if her family is like a bunch of kids.
That's
Kids
awesome.
shouldn't. We talk about like prolapsed anuses and tiny penises and stuff.
Well, they got to
like
learn sometime.
that. Well, yeah.
okay.
I mean, I do agree
It's
with that.
no, it's Canada though. They're
They're open-minded, good
They're
people.
cool.
They're like an
They're
intelligent. They're like the Federation that we want the Federation to be. The U.S. is like the Federation, actually.
it's like the U.S., but they have a queen,
Oh yeah.
They have like a semi-queen
a semi-queen.
where they're like, we can like hang with her,
We can take her or leave
but
her.
we don't gotta listen to her.
Yeah.
We can still do our
There's
thing.
a governor general.
Yeah. But I liked, it was cool that Beverly was, not only that she left us a lovely compliment, but I liked that she referenced the fact that we commented that
Her name is Beverly.
we think there's a Canadian invasion force massing to invade the United States.
Yeah.
That sounds like a positive influence.
It is, and I used to joke about that as a teenager, and it was still a joke at the time, but it was a joke like, haha, wouldn't it be funny? They're going to invade us.
If
Those asshole
Canada
Canadians.
invades
Now I
us,
hope they invade us.
Like we would be full of like reasonable people,
Yeah, and
sort of
healthcare.
like sort of
and
peaceful
legal snakeleaf.
healthcare and legal snakeleaf.
All right, so then we also got a comment on the website from Andy, who I believe is from the UK, if my linguistic analysis of the comment is
His
correct.
name's Andy.
His name is Andy. And his comment is, I really enjoyed your ramblings. If someone told me I'd listen to some guys discuss Picard for longer than an episode,
Oh, is this guy?
I would have thought they were mad. But wow, I could drink with you guys a lot. And actually, I feel I will enjoy Picard more now after your discussion of the episode. I normally watch in a very perfunctory way. I think I will be more attentive in the future.
I didn't know that guy was from the UK.
I'm just assuming
I
it
feel
'cause-
a lot cooler now.
Well, because he says, thanks, chaps.
yeah,
And he refers to he refers to people being mad, which in English means crazy.
that means crazy.
And being
American,
pissed
it means-
means drunk.
Yeah, pissed means drunk, mad means crazy, lorry means truck means hand cart, pram
Pram.
means baby means baby carriage.
Wow. Fanny means something else.
That means like a front
means
piece.
cunt.
Fannie Mae,
front
which is
pussy.
funny because it's Fannie Mae is that company here, right? And that we all know what that means in England.
Yeah, over
But do you
there it's
remember-
called pussy juice.
But what I was getting at, but yeah, that's a good point. I was gonna say.
I hope Beverly and her family are enjoying this.
And then, yes, this is fantastic. Australia, I don't think this product's around anymore, but do you remember there was a product in Australia called Nads?
Nads, yeah.
It was like these little things that they did things. And
I thought the Nads wasn't the Nads that like took your hair, your pubes.
Oh yeah, it was a hair thing.
It was like Nair, but it was Nads.
Yeah,
I know
so,
about like
Nads.
Smoko.
So it's
Smoko.
Yeah, you know
I'm
about
on
going
Smoko.
Smoko.
So
I'd like to be on fucking Smoko right
it's
now.
it's just funny that we all have like normal words that in other countries mean like balls and butt and vagina and things like that.
The words, as we discussed earlier,
Knob.
words.
Because you can't really
Words.
say fanny in,
Knob.
in England.
You can. The knob means
they get
penis.
they start blushing. And
I want to
shit when you say
open the
fanny.
door with your knob.
Ugh.
means
You're
I
gonna
wanna-
wrench it open with my penis?
Like
means I want-
you got a strong one.
Yeah.
I have a tiny penis.
Shit
though.
opens doors
You cannot wrench open a door with my tiny penis.
and turn a knob.
All right.
Yeah. So those are great. I mean, Beverly, that's wonderful. Hi. My stepdad is Quebecois. My mom is American.
word,
Moved
that
over
dude.
to Quebec.
What's his name? Renee.
Yeah.
I work with a number of Canadians, and they are the most intelligent, delightful, wonderful people
Most certainly.
I've ever encountered.
Yeah. Was there a but to that statement?
They have such.
Okay, I was waiting for it.
They have such a delightful way of speaking.
I've been to the
English.
country 3 or 4 times and always had a thoroughly wonderful time, even if it's a little gloomy at times.
And what was the name of the?
It doesn't even matter. It's
I've been to the
just a nice
CN
place.
Tower. Fuck the Seattle fucking Needle. No offense to my Seattle friends. I love Seattle. Seattle's a wonderful city, but the CN Tower kicks the fucking Space Needle's ass.
So Beverly and family. Thank you. I know. I just don't have I don't know. I've never been to Seattle.
Well, we'll get a trip together. We'll do
Okay.
a podcast
Have you
from
been to
Seattle.
Canada?
I've been to Canada
Well,
several times.
okay, then that's better than Seattle. I think that's the point.
What about Portland?
Portland's which one? Maine or Oregon?
Probably Oregon.
I've been to Portland, Oregon. I have never been to Portland, Maine.
I was at Maine recently. Okay, what was the name of the gentleman who
Andy.
Andy, that's right. Thank you, Andy. It's really inspiring. It's just nice to hear. It's like, hey, it's nice to like, like we're basically, even though we're giving honest opinions, right? That positive or negative, it's still, promoting the idea of watching the show. And that's, I think, a nice goal. It's because we appreciate the show in general enough that we can be honest about it.
Right, yeah.
And we don't have to worry about like shamelessly trying to plug it because we're not trying to do either. But it's nice. The result is someone gets more enjoyment and watches it more.
And I'm delighted that the show is good because this would be a fucking miserable process if the show was shitty.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's really gotta
Because
suck.
we'd still be doing the podcast.
Yeah.
We would out of a combination of
But we'd be the only
honor
people.
and
We'd
OCD.
be the only people doing this.
we would be bitter about
There
it.
was a comedian, she was talking about doing a podcast and thought it'd be funny to do about like shitty video games. And she's like, it's the worst thing. I spend all my Sunday playing a really shitty video game that sucks.
Oh yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so finally we got a review on iTunes
The only review.
from or I keep getting
The
it says-
iTunes
it
review,
says
I should say.
iTunes or Apple Podcast. I guess they're still in transition, so you call it whatever you gonna call it. So we got a review on iTunes / Apple Podcasts from Scuba Builder in the United States, and he says, I presume it's a he. Between the foul language and incessant references to how Fox News is evil, you lost me in the first couple minutes of the Picard review.
Okay.
It was my first, and last, time I will listen.
Let's unpack.
That was a 1-star review.
Okay.
All right. First of all, that
Okay.
review earns a joke.
First
So
of all,
Dan
we
is
got
going to be telling a
one
joke.
star.
One
Okay,
star.
he could have given us
Well,
no.
Here's the
stars.
thing. He could have just not. I mean, I guess we're thankful for the review, right?
I'm
That's what we
thankful
asked
for
for.
the
He
review.
gave
I
us
think
a
it's
review.
hilarious.
It is hilarious. I just think it's done for the wrong. There's no right or wrong, but I question the reasoning. It was done for selfish.
That was probably
You're
the
pointing
only
out
time
the
we
factual,
mentioned Fox
the complete
News.
factual errors in his review. That's the frustrating thing.
That's the thing is, look, you don't have to listen to a whole episode, right? Of course you don't. You can decide it's not for you after a couple minutes. That's perfectly normal. But to get off your ass and write a review about how shitty it is based upon a couple minutes, that's a little selfish, don't you think?
Yeah.
It means you don't want to give, but you want to take.
Right.
And the way you're taking is by trying to like bring something down.
If you write a review, you listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I love it. I would happily take more.
No, I agree with you, Jesse there. Yeah.
No, but my frustration is I don't mind the 1-star review. I don't mind the person
It's 1 star. It's not
disliking
0
the show.
stars.
I don't mind the person being upset at the vulgarity, right? Because we're like, fuck prolapsed anus cunt, fuck the anus cunt. I mean,
the
that's
anus.
ridiculous. Why would we even do this?
How could there have been that much vulgarity in the first couple of minutes?
Well, first of all, we take it's a point. We will take it is gratuitous vulgarity. Yes.
I said the M word.
That's the niche. That is the particular niche. There are literally hundreds of Star Trek podcasts out there. And by the way, you want a good Star Trek podcast, go look at Trek FM. They have one for every single series. They have one for Star Trek novels. They have one for Star Trek social issues.
Trek novels.
And the people who do them are passionate and intelligent and well-researched, and it's kid-friendly, but sophisticated and geared towards adults. Go check it out. That's great shit. They're already doing that. We don't need to do the same thing. We're doing a different thing, which is we're awesome and funny, and we talk about
Canadian kids. It's
buttholes
safe
and
for-
stuff.
it's safe for
Exactly.
Canadian
I think that's
kids.
why. Yeah, I think that's why like people in Canada like us because we're just chill. We're being real.
And
Yeah.
We're being real.
well, the part about the Fox News, I mean, I think that's
just wrong.
That's the only. I mean, yes,
That's a tell.
maybe 90% of what you listened to was about Fox News. So if you listened to 3 minutes and it was a part where we mentioned Fox News maybe 2 or 3 times.
It was some sort of whistle.
Right,
And-
yeah, it's like, and so that's the only time. Now I'm arguing a silly point, right? But it's still just kind of, it's just kind of like incessant talk about.
You can't say incessant when it was a woman. It was from the first episode. A woman is interviewing Picard,
It was clearly
and she is
media-
interviewing him in a gotcha
Yeah.
Fox News style thing. Now, other news networks
Yeah.
do it too,
Yep.
which we said at the time, and we made a
Yep.
point to say that MSNBC and CNN do similar things.
That was the only time we ever said Fox News on the podcast.
when
I kind of want to bring it up every episode now.
when I was interning for a radio station, I would do
Humble brag.
I'm just saying. When I back in my days of pressing a button that's now done by a computer instead of me, I was just had to listen to the O'Reilly Factor.
Don't push your button.
I listened to the O'Reilly Factor.
Oh yeah, that radio show.
So I had to sit
the radio
through
show he paid radio stations to play.
Yeah. So the reason I bring it up is to say that I didn't choose to listen to this, although I have listened to it by choice, but not habitually. I had to be there though, which is why I know this. Every time he fucking interviews someone, you can tell from the start how the interview is going to go. You can tell when they're on his side. He's like, yeah, of course, and lets them talk and agrees with them. As soon as somebody makes a good point, he steamrolls them. And he doesn't give them a chance to make their point.
Right.
As soon as they're onto something, he detects it, steamrolls it, and somehow it's just him talking the entire time. The entire time. That was the first time it really stood out to me, that style of interview, was Bill O'Reilly. Now, other people have had it before then, because it's been happening before Bill O'Reilly, obviously.
Well,
I'm just saying, for
all
me,
those
it's
dudes
anecdotal.
do that.
It's anecdotal, right, that it's Bill O'Reilly on my part. I'm just saying. Right.
No, that's not. I mean, okay, technically.
Well, that is Bill
anecdotal,
O'Reilly, not
but
someone else.
It's
The
from your
steamroller
experience.
technique.
Yeah.
is-
And look, we don't need to beat around the bush. The fact of the matter is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with watching Fox News. However, if you watch Fox News and you think it's news, that's a problem. Now, to make it clear, and I'm not a both sidesing this, I am not a huge fan of CNN or MSNBC either. I think they are less problematic, but they are all three corporate run news programs. They earn money by showing news and
They're owned
framing
by
stories.
horrible corporations.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
And they're all framing news in such a way to maximize ratings, not maximize knowledge. They have different target audiences.
I've never
and
watched CNN.
different styles, but the fact of the matter is Rachel Maddow, who's somebody who I really like and respect, she is owned by Comcast, and she will never talk about net neutrality, which is something presumably when you look at her overall politics, she
You
would be
would
very
think-
interested in talking about it.
Yes.
But Comcast is against it. She will have very minimal, if any, mention of it, right? And I listen to her regularly. It never comes up, right? CNN has the same issues, right? And this is not a both sidesing or three sidesing thing. It's just making the comment that if you can't listen to
This is
a comical podcast.
This is an issue with capitalism.
If you turn off a comical podcast because your religion of news has been, made fun of,
Yeah.
okay, cool. See you later. We couldn't care less. We would like for all people to listen and enjoy it, and frankly, to write in and tell us where we're being assholes or wrong, because we know we are. Right? Because we're not morons. We know that half the shit we say is going to be dumb or uninformed or misplaced or whatever. We're doing our fucking best. It's free. God damn it. But it is amusing to see somebody get so upset. So, please write more reviews. More 1-star reviews are fine, but at least try to characterize the problems correctly, because otherwise we're just going to think you're an idiot, as opposed to looking at it and being like, oh, you know what? They make a good point. Let's consider that.
What was that from King of the Hill when they're at the football game or whatever? And the woman, the one mother is like yelling out to the coach. It's like, "Coach, you suck!" And Peggy's like, "You got to be specific." She's
Your
like,
plays.
Yeah, she's like, much better.
It is good literary advice. All right. So, Dan, are you ready? We've gone on real fucking long tonight. So are you and part of this is because it was recently my birthday, my 40th birthday, and my parents got me 40 bottles of wine
Welcome to the
as
what
a
she's
present.
drinking now.
Now, I like wine just fine, but I'm not what one would
I
call
never
a
see you-
wine drinker.
I was surprised. I never see you drink
It's
wine.
hard to drink a lot of wine.
I think my mom just
that shit fucks you up.
she got it in her head that it would look charming, and it fucking did, to have 40 bottles of wine, each with a candle on top, a lit candle. So it was
that was spectacular.
it was like a birthday cake made of fucking wine
That
bottles.
was a good party.
So I understand. I've been around, especially in the creative field, long enough to understand where you get a hold of an idea, and even if the underlying logic of the idea is not working out, that you're just like, it's too fucking good of an idea. I'm going to push through. Anyway, the reason I bring this up,
That was a comment about my gossip section about the people gossiping, wasn't it? Between Rafi and about 7 to 9. That was
it absolutely wasn't.
just kidding. I'm just playing. I'm just being silly.
I am saying that I've been drinking an entire fucking bottle of wine because I got to get through this shit now, because now I have 40 bottles of wine literally littering my house.
and I've been having Rain Inferno jalapeno strawberry, so
Yeah.
you know I'm amped.
How many glasses can you get out of a bottle of wine? Like 4?
Thermogenic.
I don't know, something like that. I've just
About
been
4.
refilling it the whole podcast.
About
So
4.
I just
It's
keep,
not 4. It's like
6.
I fill it up before I finish it. So anyway,
glass
It
of wine
depends.
is-
It depends on the glass.
at
Well, a glass is 6
long-
ounce. A glass pours 6
At
ounce.
long, okay, waiter boy. Long last.
waiter boy. I haven't done that in a while.
See you later, boy.
Oh my god, I was so charmed by that, because it's a good song. This Waiter Boy song. I was very charmed by that.
I'm glad you were charmed, waiter
All right,
boy.
let's
What's that
have
supposed to mean?
let's have a joke.
Well,
Or 3.
originally it was brought to my attention that I was supposed to make 3 jokes tonight, and I pointed out, like, no, the other 2 weren't reviews, right? There was only 1 review. But you know, I want to keep this in the good-natured spirit, right? I don't want to. There's no reason to lawyer up on this, right?
No.
So no, this isn't
It's jokes.
This isn't Magic the Gathering.
Maybe give the
it's
good
not
joke.
magic. It's not Warhammer.
Maybe give the best joke to the review that called us assholes, and then give the slightly lesser jokes to the very nice people who went out of their way to
absolutely.
compliment us.
Well, what I did was so there's
So
no,
cheap.
but in the future, but I did it now like this, but just so in the future people know, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But I gave them, and this was actually Patrick suggested this. I gave them those punchline only jokes. So there's no setup, just a punchline. For those two.
One-liners.
like about the guy in the
Take my wife,
the
please.
Ferengi in
Yeah.
the gorilla costume has to leave.
Right? Yeah. Like
you can
those.
stay, but the guy in the
Except-
Ferengi in the gorilla costume's gotta go.
I'd like to think these setups are solvable, though. I don't know. Those are So this is in response to Beverly. This is the punchline.
Not Beverly Crusher.
Well,
Maybe it is Beverly Crusher, and that's what's cool.
well, is she Canadian?
No,
No.
Maybe her character is.
but maybe she should be.
What, is that a threat?
So here's my
You gonna
punchline.
fucking repatriate her to fucking Canada against her will?
Don't walk on my punchline.
I don't have that power.
Tell me when I'm ready.
Yes,
Okay. No, it's cool.
I'm ready.
Okay, this is a joke for Beverly. Canadians will get this one. Well, sorry, it's just the punchline. More like... Oh, my gosh. Oh, no, that was my fault. I'm sorry, that was my fault. No, I'm sorry, Jesse. I got frustrated at first, and I realized that, no, that was a natural reaction. That's what I wanted.
No one is listening this far in the podcast.
More like Canadian acquire. More like Canadian acquire.
Is the setup something related to Canadian bacon?
Nope.
Poutine?
Nope, Canadians will get it.
Hockey?
If they don't, then I just wrote a bad punchline.
Like,
See, this is the problem.
I'm curious if he even wrote a setup. All right. The wine voice is coming through now. You can see, hi there. This is Patrick with the wine voice. Ready for joke number 2.
What about the other guy? Does he
For
get
Andy. Punchline.
Yeah, for
Punchline
Andy.
number 2.
Oh, Andy gets
Andy.
Yeah, Andy should get a good joke.
No, Andy gets a punchline.
Yes.
5 pence? I said I was a rambling man.
Now I really want to figure out what the setup to that one is. 5 pence, but I said I was a
Are you going to
rambling man.
reveal like the setups like in future podcasts?
No, not unless they leave a review.
Yeah, right. There you go.
You gotta leave
I was
a
painting
review.
myself into a corner
You
here.
gotta leave a review.
All right, and this was to who's it? What was this person's name?
Scuba builder.
Scuba.
All right.
I thought it
Self-contained
was like toboggan.
underwater breathing apparatus. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Central Intelligence Agency.
You know, and Hefe means boss and all that stuff,
It means chief.
and chief and all that stuff. There's like 10 words for it. But when Rio said that, Picard was like, "Old man, indeed." I was like, "Old man? What are you talking about? It means boss." But I looked it up.
He had said that earlier.
I looked it up. Yeah, he said that, but I looked it up, and apparently it means it's sort of like a derogatory, sort of a flippant. It's a flippant response to your parents in Mexico.
Which is
Right.
further evidence that he might be
Right, I was.
from Mexico.
Yeah,
It would
you had made that point before
It
that you
would
thought he sounded
seem-
Mexican.
It would seem that he's Mexican.
Yeah.
Has a Mexican accent.
So I thought that was interesting. Okay, joke. What did Shaggy tell Thelma when the Mystery Inc. gang went too close to the case in magical underwater? Oh my god, I just butchered that.
All right.
I've been practicing it so much.
Rewind.
I should have trusted my spelling.
This is a Star Trek podcast on topics related to Star Trek
This is a joke.
with the occasional diversions,
Here's the joke.
purely for the purpose of entertainment.
Here's the joke. I should have trusted my spelling.
I've had 3/4 of a bottle of wine.
Here's the joke. What did Shaggy tell Thelma when the Mystery Inc. gang went to close the case in the magical underwater city of Atlantis? What did Shaggy tell Thelma when the Mystery Inc. gang went to close the case in the magical underwater city of Atlantis?
Okay.
If you just repeat it, that doesn't help us. at
Okay.
all.
Just to get it
All right.
in.
So, home listening audience, Dan isn't listening right now. But before he tells the punchline,
I wonder what they're.
I got to explain to you.
I don't know
When
what
he was reading that setup, he was doing this bizarre little dance, a little shimmy of his hips. And he was pointing his finger and sort of dancing his shoulders all around.
shaking my hips.
It was bizarre. It added to it. I just want to convey that in case you're not getting the full thing. I am 100% confused by what he's saying. I think that he designed the joke to be as difficult to enunciate as possible, just to, maybe that adds to the humor.
Okay. Yeah, that's why
Say it again.
I fucked it up the first time.
Well, now you got it. You said it good twice.
What did Shaggy tell Thelma when the Mystery Inc. gang went to close the case in the magical underwater city of Atlantis?
So he's doing sort of a condescending pointing and a shimmying with his hip. I don't think a negative condescending. I think it's a playful condescending. All right. I think we're ready for the punchline. I haven't a fucking clue.
Don't forget to bring the scuba snacks.
So you really fucking customized it for this guy.
That was a
Scuba.
That was my Shaggy impression.
It was a terrible Shaggy impression.
It was
but-
a lot better earlier. Wait, don't forget to bring the scuba snacks.
Wait a second. Who does that sound like, other than Shaggy?
Don't wait. Casey Kasem.
Oh yeah.
Hey Scoob. Hey Scoob.
Hey Scoop. No, I can't.
Hey
do it either.
Scoob. I'm much better at. I think it's the microphone makes me realize I'm not as good as impressions.
Casey
I thought.
Kasem was Shaggy.
He was Shaggy.
I'm Casey Kasem. Don't forget to bring the scuba snacks.
Do a fucking death dedication for a fucking dead dog.
Oh yeah, that outtake. Well, that Shaggy impression sounded much better
that.
at home.
What was the punchline again?
Well, I like the
Scuba
punchline.
snacks.
I just thought my Shaggy impression was so much better, and the mic's telling me
Zoinks!
otherwise. Do you want this the punchline?
Yes.
Don't forget to bring the scuba snacks. Because they're going to the magical underwater city of Atlantis.
The punchline, no. The punchline is fan-fucking-tastic.
Thank you.
It is a custom joke for the piece of shit who wrote us. That's great. It makes sense. It's the scuba, Atlantis, that all makes sense. I'm really puzzled by the accent and not your inability to do it, because I've heard you make sounds just within the last 20 seconds that sound like Shaggy. But then when you do the punchline, you just sort of say it like you're just like, don't forget to bring the Scooby snacks.
Hey, Scoob! Hey, Scoob! Hey, Scoob! Hey. Zoinks!
Zoinks!
Don't forget to bring the scuba snacks!
I mean, that's better. It's more,
really
I mean,
bad.
it's a caricature of a caricature.
All this time I thought I was good at that.
You are good, Dan. You're very good.
This has been a pet Dan's ego. No. Yeah, it's a good joke, right? It's a good joke.
All right. So email us at petdansego@itsgotstrek.com and on social media. And I think that's just going to be it for now. But we have no idea what next week's episode is called, but it is going to be episode 6 of Star Trek Picard. And Jurati is a murderer, and Picard looks tight in a patch. And I'm hoping Elnor does some cool shit, because today he mostly just wore a slick jacket.
I want to see
and walked around a
Elnor
bit.
kill
He
more.
spun around and said that shit in Romulan.
Agualente.
And everybody
Aguanile.
was like, oh, fuck that guy.
They were like, oh, this guy's hopeless.
I want to see
They're doing one
Soji
of those
freaking out. I want to see Narek and his sister just sort of like kissing their necks, where they're not like straight up having sex yet.
Well,
they're not even like
it-
making
it-
out. They're just sort of like
It
kissing their necks.
showed her in the
I know.
preview.
Yeah.
5 pence? I said I was a rambling man.
Yeah, I got to figure out.
I don't know
a
what
setup
that
to that.
means.
More like Canadian acquire. More like Canadian acquire. What does that sound like? More like Canadian acquire. What does that sound like?
Like to get something.
What does that sound like?
What are you talking about?
Sounds like the ravings of a madman.
Well, if no one gets it by next week, I'll give you my other punchline that basically gives it.
And Dan did a completely fucking different dance for every single one of those jokes. The condescending point for the dance for the last one, but it's
Well, it's like how people see numbers and colors. I see jokes and dances.
okay. Good night. I think that'll do it for tonight. We'll see you all next week.
La Serena, this is Freecloud Orbital Control, confirming transfer of con.
Roger that.
Welcome, Captain Rios. I see your power conversion efficiency is only 91%. Remember, nobody knows the way around the Kaplan F-17 speed freighter like the Red Bowie.
Kappa and Kappa, join the party at the Freecloud Grand Hotel, afternoon high tea.
Come make it go away!
The Freecloud Institute of Entertainment Robotics is now hiring.
You have to punch him.
What?
Hit as hard as you can.
I don't hit things!
Oh, no, he's right, Doc. You need to knock his head clear off.
Feedback architect. Submit your resume.
Oh. Agnes for the knockout.
Hey, lady, you looking to get snake bit? Slither into Feely's Venom Garden and pick your poison.
I didn't get one.